Frank does that.
Well, do we have any agenda, any changes or additions to the agenda?
We've got to, you wanted to talk about the calendar at the end of the
Calendar.
meeting.
Yeah,
The meetings.
discuss meeting dates. It's
Yeah.
got that in red at the top corner.
All right,
there
but
you
it
go.
isn't on ours, so,
Okay.
all right? I make a motion, we accept the agenda with the add-on Frank just mentioned.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So we have, the first order of business would be to introduce our new conservation agent. Amy, I don't know if you've maybe met everybody
Up here?
I'm
I think
not
so.
sure. And you've had a chance to get around town and see things with Pat. So we really are happy that you chose to come to Scituate and work with us, and we're looking forward to it. Appreciate it.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks.
Should have gave her the head chair.
Pat's probably told you how easy it is, right?
I've warned you on all of them.
Except for me.
Yeah, right.
What?
You're the
What?
first.
Whoa!
I missed that one.
To let it go.
Okay, I'll let it go.
They're dissing women.
So,
Okay, Lisa, I'm here for you.
we can start with an informal.
Yeah, I think we have two of them on.
Everybody's here for Dobie, the Osprey Nest in Humrock.
Keith's here.
Somebody here?
Keith, you
Keith's
wanna
here.
speak to that?
Oh,
Or
he's
maybe
here.
Pat, you can, I've seen the emails, so just an
Right,
explanation.
I guess it's a osprey pole right across the street from the Dobie house, and it's on an area of sand. And how far off the street is it?
60 feet,
60 feet off? And it's not in the marsh area, it's in the
in a gravel area.
gravel. Okay. And what we thought we'd do is to make sure that there's no interference with like an Audubon project, natural heritage, and North-South River Watershed. And I've seen letters from North-South River Watershed and DEP. I don't know, did in Natural Heritage say, they said something too?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
They were good with it.
But you have
Okay.
something from them, Carol, has it.
Yeah, okay. So I think we wanted to, if there were members of the public that wanted to comment on it, or commission members, I think as long as those other three groups are going, it'd be great to get a poll up for the Osprey, so.
Great.
Can
Go ahead.
we do a minor activity permit for that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we can do that, yeah.
As long as all the other agencies are happy,
Right,
that's all I'd be concerned about.
right.
Richard?
As a resident of Humrock, I love seeing the osprey around. If somebody wants to give them a nest, I'm thrilled.
Yeah, put it up.
Yeah,
My question really was, what do I have to do? Is there a form I have to fill out? Is there a fee I have to pay? That was what I asked Carol, I really don't.
So we have, there's basically three things that we can issue. The most stringent is a notice of intent. And this doesn't require anything like that. The next one would be a request for determination of applicability, and again, this is pretty simple. It's a hole in the ground that you're putting in a pole. So the commission has a procedure where we issue what we call a minor activities permit, and we can issue that for you to do that. Have a rough idea of where the spot is, and we can.
Well, I'm sure where the spot is, but what do I have to do?
I don't.
We can email it to you. It's something we can send you during the, and the fee is $35, and as long as we know that it's on your property and there's not going to be anybody questioning who owns the land, then we're good with it.
That's it.
So,
Is there any way, can we waive that fee if it's something like this? I mean, obviously, if it's a,
Commission can do what they like.
you know, if it's someone's deck or if it's a project or something, but this seems
Right.
like it's an environmental, a good project.
The Osprey spent all his money at the bridge.
So my thought is that we would waive that. One of these good folks from Humrock can
I'd be fine with
go
it.
by to take a look.
No, that's a great idea.
And we appreciate it. I think that makes a lot of sense.
It's a range, so it isn't gonna fall, but if it ever fell, it would fall entirely on my property.
Sure.
Not on the street, not on anybody else's property.
No, I think it's really good of you to to put that together, and I think, you know, it's a little bit frustrating because it has to go around to all these different boards. I mean,
Yeah,
some
it
stuff
is.
just seems like it would be simple to just say, well, dig a hole and do this, and
It isn't.
it's unfortunate that there's so many entities that do this. I don't think there's anything that's grown in this country faster than compliance and regulation.
Government. Government and spending,
Government in
yeah.
general.
Yeah, for birdhouse.
So,
Yeah.
well,
I know,
it's a
but-
little, it's elaborate, so, but that's great. And I think you had gotten some comment from Audubon and stuff. No,
Yeah,
everybody's
she copied
good.
us.
So great. Thank you very much for doing that.
Okay.
Maybe it'll inspire some more.
Well, first of all, I don't want to take much time, but what kept me going is there's a lot of ospreys flying around. And secondly, on his street, Stevie Quinn said to me that they tried to build a nest twice in the telephone pole.
Yes, they have. That's right.
Well, they need a nice platform.
Yeah. So, how tall, Mr. Dobie? Roughly
It's
how?
gonna be 32 feet and 6 feet in the ground, so it's 26 feet now.
Great.
Which Ottawa said it has to be higher than anything else around.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Be great.
Great. Thank you.
Do we need a motion?
Make a motion for, we usually issue a
Yeah,
pack
we
and.
just,
Okay.
Pat,
We
just
just,
Yeah.
Okay,
We don't even
Amy,
vote.
that could be your first,
Yeah.
tomorrow morning, send them email, we'll shoot it out.
okay.
Okay.
All right,
All
great.
set.
Thank
Good
you.
on that.
You're good.
Now, my next question is the fence thing, is that postponed or is that?
No,
That's next.
it's on as an informal discussion. People have asked that we not vote on anything tonight, but the property owner's been asked to file an application, and he's not ready with that, but we still have it on the agenda to discuss tonight. So this is the Atlantic Ave, Barrett area where there's a fence that was built in a dune without a permit. So we have a permit for most of the work there, but this fencing was not part of the permit. So we have notified the property owner to either take it down or file. And at this point, he believes he's planning to file, but hasn't taken it down, and it's still an issue for people who are trying to access the beach.
Okay.
So, I think the biggest issue was if you can prove it's on your property, then they could, file with us and we could vote to either allow it or not. If it's not on your property,
It has
would
to
you
come
even be
down.
able to file? You don't even have the right to put it there. So we also have something that was asked to be read into the record from a person
Do we
who
have
is-
anything to look at, Pat? Any kind of a plan or a sketch or?
We have some photos,
I may have them.
yeah.
I have quite a bit of stuff.
Okay,
You know,
well,
I have-
why don't you come up, step up to the table, please?
I also had, this is the letter that we've been asked to read this into the record. It's a photo here too that shows the fence. This is the letter. And then we have the order of conditions of what we didn't permit out there.
Right.
In front of us, so.
Here's a picture of it right there.
So actually, we have nothing but a fence and a picture of the fence. We don't have a plot plan or,
Oh, no, they haven't filed with us.
Right,
Yeah,
right. we have a fence and a picture of a fence.
See, my understanding is that this is actually part of the street, Barrett Ave. And that's what I think the point of conjecture. I think his property comes down here. This over here would be Keith's property. And at one time, Keith allowed, if I'm misstating, Keith, correct me, Keith allowed part of the fence, on a different fence, a few years ago that we did permit to be partly on his property. I believe you allowed that. if I'm-
Well, it was on both properties. There's been a fence there for many years. It's been up and it's been down. In fact, I think at one time it was as part of an order of conditions from this board.
Right.
Can I just, Richard, you just have a different picture. Is that recent?
Yes, well, that's from last year, I believe. But it still shows this part of the fence here, which is right here, this part here.
So,
And I may have another one.
so yours has got a bunch of posts, there's no snow fence. Looks like
Correct.
fall or winter, there's no green.
And then this is when they were plowing it out.
But I
Which
can
they
show
did not
you
have permission
photos
to do.
from 17 years ago when there was a fence.
And it-
And your order of conditions says that it was to be put back into the original conditions. You can see what happens if there's no fence and it's not protected.
How wide is this pathway?
20 feet. It's the width of the
No,
street.
no, there's two fences there. There's the pathway in between.
Right.
The pathway, it's about 4 feet, it's wide enough for a carriage or a beach cart or two
It's
people to pass.
35 inches wide,
What's that?
35 inches wide.
So it's just.
But the bottom line is if they want to apply to put a
But you have
fence
to
on their
remember that under
property, they
Massachusetts
can.
law,
Wait,
we
one-
own that
person's
street.
gonna talk to-
That's my point. I'm agreeing with you.
Okay,
So,
I was under the.
Pat, is there anything else you, before I get input from the members, is there?
Well, regardless of whether there'd been a fence there in the past, once it got knocked down, he should have included that in the notice of intent to put it back up. And at that point, he could have shown the property line and how the fence was gonna be on the property line.
We don't contest that, is all we contest is, apparently there's one neighbor who wants the fence down, and he's the only neighbor in the neighborhood.
Okay.
And this idea that the path is supposed to be 20 feet wide is ridiculous.
What's he want to drive a car down it?
Well, that's what we're trying to stop. We've had trouble, but every time the fence is down, we have people coming through, getting stuck, causing trouble. It's a pain in the
Let's just see these.
Well, he needs to get the notice of intent into us,
So-
and then we can discuss it
So is the
better.
fence your fence, Mr. Dobie?
No, actually, I was in North Carolina when the fence got put up. If you go through the record, you'll see that I wrote saying that the fence needed to be put up. It wasn't put up exactly the way I'd like, to be honest with you. It's a straight shot, and I think it should have zigzagged,
Okay.
you know, at the beach so that it doesn't run straight down. But the fence needs to be there, and it needs to be about the width it is.
So the fence is there, it's not for erosion control or for dune.
No, it's
This is for passage and to keep people
Keep cars out.
into an area, keep cars off the
And
beach.
the attorney couldn't be here tonight, but he did speak to an attorney, and he can be here when we have this regular conversation. And one of his points is that if there's a dispute over rights of way and access and everything, that's a legal matter between the neighbors, and not necessarily for the conservation.
Right,
But-
but what I have a problem with is someone applying to put up structures that aren't on their property. If someone wants to come in here and put a fence on their property, they're free to apply to
But
do that.
It is on his property, it's on his,
Well,
if it's not on his property, it's on my
It may be,
property.
but we have no drawings, we have no plot plan, we don't know where the fence is.
Mr.
Can-
Dobie,
And that's what we need
Can we
to
just
know.
do this
Yeah.
in the order that we usually?
right,
All right.
but I just want
So-
to pass that to you, because there is the property line for the
Okay.
people.
So,
Yes,
Penny, do you have any?
But it's not where the fence is.
Let's
yes
just,
it is.
and then,
Do you understand Massachusetts law?
look at,
Okay, we're not gonna get in a fight.
I do.
I want to,
And I'm-
sir,
just,
Mr. Doby, I want to say something before the notice of the.
can I just, what
Oh,
we'd like
yeah.
to do, this is an informal hearing, it's a
Yeah.
discussion, all right?
That's what I was gonna.
And it can be
suggest.
informal, but we're still gonna have order to what we do with this. And first, we're just trying to get a picture of what we're talking about. I haven't seen this. Maybe some of you have seen it and you're familiar with it, and that's fine. But first, I'm trying to get a picture of what we're actually discussing. And then what are the issues? As Pat explained to me, there will be a filing for this fence. So in the meantime, we're really just
It's informal.
having a rough discussion of what's here.
And I couldn't come with anything to discuss it.
And I appreciate that, but you did ask about whether we were gonna do this. And it's on the agenda. So, because we're having an informal discussion, just wanna pass it along to the commission members, same as we always would. We'll ask people in the audience if they have some input. However, this is really don't need to spend a lot of time at this
No.
until we have a filing. Am I, okay?
Yeah, you're right.
Penny, do you have anything?
Yes, I have one comment I'd like to make before the NOI does come in. I am no expert, but I do believe for handicapped accessibility, if you plan on this fence, you need to have it at least 4 feet wide, not 36 inches or 35. I do believe You need to check on that before you bring a notice of intent in.
It's
Okay?
not my call.
No, I'm just
Oh,
looking,
okay.
you just
Okay.
happen to be the face I'm looking at. I'm not, no, but that's, I just would like,
You may be correct, but that may be
yeah.
correct if it's a public access to the beach. And
I
I'm
don't
not sure
really
that.
know, but it
Right.
just might be something they'd want to put on the NOI.
Well, just be careful.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Okay.
well, I said, I'm not sure.
I'm good for now.
Like, you don't need to give me this right now. This is proof of the ownership, but I'm not questioning that right now. Thank you, sir.
Well,
Paul?
Yeah, you know, I have nothing to say about access issues. It's about if they want to apply to put a fence on their property, they're welcome to do that.
Okay. Lisa?
Same thing. It's got to be on their property.
Right. And I think that when someone does this, they need to show the benefit. This is in a resource area. So there's got to be a reason that this is constructed. This is on a dune. There's got to be a reason that this gets placed here. Whether it's privacy, whether it's erosion control, whether it's to keep damage from being done to the dune, there should be a compelling reason to want to work in a resource area. That's what we would make our determination on. Okay? You want to add anything?
Well, Penny had mentioned notice of intent. I think there's probably three options. They could amend their order of conditions and ask that this be part of it. They could do an RDA and request if it's going to be an impact to a resource area, or it could be just considered a violation of an open order of conditions, and it could be a violation.
So there is an
there's-
open order for this
There
project?
is for this project, for the dune out front, but this was in violation of the open order.
Okay,
So,
The dune out front is the pilot program that we did.
okay. All right.
all right.
Yes, sir, and your name, please?
John Stanton. I directly, 130 Central Ave. This is my access to the beach. I do have a photo for what has been constructed by Keith Doby and Mr. Tanetta.
Mhm.
Would anybody care to look at it?
I think we got one, but if you want to bring a picture up, that'd be great.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
I have all kinds of pictures down through the years of
Yep.
what was originally allowed under the order of conditions and conservation.
Okay.
When Mr. Tornetta's house was built,
Mm-hmm.
and that would be under conditions called for a fence down the lot line.
Okay.
Okay, and then up at the dune, that's where it's protected, not way down, close to Atlantic Drive. So I measured, it's 36 inches wide.
Mm-hmm.
I measured 23 and a half inches like this.
Okay.
So two people, I'm a pretty small guy, two people can't pass, never mind with beach chairs and coolers and so on and so
Sure.
forth. So
Okay.
it's very restrictive.
All right, well, we're gonna, I guess, you've heard what the discussion, and there's gonna have to be something submitted by the person that's here. If we don't get that, and we feel that this is a violation, we can issue an enforcement order to deal with this.
Okay, because the summer's ticking by, and it is a restricted path there, that 3 feet is, it's really,
Mhm.
really restrictive, and, where it was constructed illegally, I'd ask the board to have it removed and then take it up with Mr. Tanetta.
And I don't have a problem setting a timeline, saying we either do an enforcement order to remove it or file, because, sometimes these things, we put it in the lap of the offender, and then nothing happens.
Well, I brought it to Pat's attention like last August, and did you just get a response from Mr. Tanetta on an email after multiple emails?
we probably got some before now, but I think that he felt that it had been there in the past and he was entitled to replace it. And we've had the discussion that that's not the case. Once it's wiped out in a storm, you have to put it on the new plan.
So, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, what do you think about, we say, and I don't know the number, but you say like 30 days, remove the fence or file within 30 days. Otherwise, you know how these things go on for years.
By August
Right.
16th.
Yep, I agree.
Well, I think an email needs to be sent to him in the morning. Say, you know,
There was remnants of the
to
original.
file by the 16th.
There was remnants of the original fence,
That's a candy
and the contractor who installed this chose to pull those posts out, and that was Mr. Tenetta's lot line. And I can document that in photos on my iPad here.
All right, well, I think that's probably better saved for the hearing. We can see that there's work here that appears to go beyond the scope of what was permitted, okay? It appears that way, and we can look at that order. And if it is, we can issue either a show cause for the people that put this in and say, we want you here to talk about this. We can issue an enforcement order saying remove what's not permitted, or we can ask them to amend their orders or file. So we got a couple of choices, and I hear what you're saying, that this is the one problem.
Diane Church, did you read the letter of my neighbor Ian
I'm
Gilliam?
gonna do that,
Whose vacation with her family now?
I'm gonna read
Okay,
that.
that's
It's in the
really,
file.
this Mr. Tenetta was really, I mean, that was really terrible,
Okay,
terrible.
so we have her letter, and
Yes.
this will be part of the file,
Okay.
okay?
All right.
Thank you.
So that's it for today,
Well, we're gonna discuss it right here for a minute, so
Okay.
feel free to stay. So, I mean, your thoughts on this, Pat? I mean, do we
Well-
want to sort of boost this?
A deadline for the filing?
Yeah, this needs to get
Mhm.
heated up pretty quick to get this sorted out.
I think Paul made a good point. Give-
Can they be here at our next meeting?
Yep, we
I'd
can.
give them till the next meeting.
It's 2nd of
August
August?
2nd.
2nd of August.
Well, I think it depends on what they're gonna do, though. Because if they're gonna amend the open order, then there's a process in which they ask to do that, you accept that, and then you advertise it as a public hearing.
Right.
So that's gonna take at least 2 meetings, if they act right.
Right, if they do that, that's awesome. What we run into a lot is we're sitting here 3 months from now talking about they're gonna come in.
And they don't.
And there's no,
Right.
you put it in their lap and they don't do anything. And,
I mean, we could do 2 weeks, and if they decide to file something that is gonna take
right,
longer,
then if they
we could
file,
push it
that's
out.
great.
But if we could start with the 2 weeks, it would be good. It'll create,
I mean, this is, so if this is, it's in a resource area, it's on a dune, right? The work that's been done here. I mean, it doesn't seem like it would take much to look at the file and see whether this was what was permitted.
It wasn't.
Yeah. we
Okay,
like
so
that.
this was not permitted. So now we've got a violation. Technically, they've constructed something beyond what was permitted.
Right.
So,
And on the timing, if they were to do an RDA, they could get that in within 2 days, it could be on for the 2nd. But as Amy mentioned, if it's an amended order, you have to do the abutter
Right.
notification, and that would take until the
Sure.
16th. And then, we could, as Lisa said, you could, give them the 2 weeks if they decide to do an RDA, and if they don't, then it may take a little longer, we could extend it 2 weeks.
What about if they notify us of their intention within 2 weeks, or 10 days? 10 days or 2 weeks?
Right, as long as they're taking
So
action.
they tell us what they're going to do, and then we'll know how they're gonna proceed. And basically, and if we don't hear from them, then it's an automatic notice of violation
right,
down to the
okay.
enforcement.
I just like to, like Paul said, we just don't want to see this hang out there.
I think that would keep it moving.
Okay.
Well, I think that's a good idea, but I think it also needs to be stated to them that something has to be filed before August 16th. Or we're just gonna take it down. I mean, if they get back to you in two weeks and say, well, we're gonna do this, it might be 6 months before they do that,
Right.
what they say they're gonna do. All right, they need to know, you gotta let us know, and it has to be filed prior to the August 16th meeting so we can hear it. Give them a deadline, because this has been going on for months and months.
It has been going on for a year, actually.
Yeah, a year.
Okay. On the other hand, I mean, none of us got on this commission to spend time on private matters, so it's,
Nope.
we
No,
want to deal with the area as,
yeah.
as it regards to the resource.
Right.
Yeah, that's it.
Moving on.
Okay. We could do these RDA, you want to have anything, you want to add anything else to this tonight?
Nope.
You think you're,
What's that?
it's clear as mud to me.
We want something done, and we want something
Yeah,
done
Now,
sooner rather than later, yeah.
yep, thank you.
after 6:30.
So why don't we just move into the IDAs? Donnelly at 140 Jericho Road, asphalt drive from the street to the front stairs, plantings, this was continued.
Yep.
Good evening.
Hi.
So Pat, where are we with,
Okay, I think at the last meeting, we had asked Christine to get more information about the past projects that had taken place there.
Right.
And there was a zoning board of appeals decision that allowed porch to be put in the same location. It never went through conservation, it went to building from zoning, so they followed the rules that they were asked to follow. The other thing we wanted to do is measure the distance to the coastal beach. It's over 50 feet, so it's a beyond 50-foot buffer to the coastal beach. And the flood zone we were gonna determine, and it's the AE flood zone, it's not in a velocity zone, so those were the.
Okay. So there's nothing in this folder that prevents them? There were no decisions from the former prior commissions or anything restricting
No.
anything on this property?
No, there had been a three-home notice of intent, order of conditions to do repairs out front on the ocean side, and that was all done, and plantings were all done, and they all got certificate of compliance.
None of that required them to have a pervious or impervious driveway?
Nothing was mentioned, no. So.
Okay. Penny, any thoughts on this?
You said it's 50 feet to the coastal bank?
From the beach, to the coastal beach on the, at the edge of the harbor. It's 50 feet from there.
The coastal bank.
I know, it's so altered down there.
Richard?
No, she's done everything we asked her to do. I mean, I would prefer we didn't do it, but I don't see any reason why she can't.
Paul?
I kind of agree with Richard and what Pat said. It's really developed. It's in the shadow of the house, so it's not really going to change coastal flow much in the area.
Lisa?
We shouldn't be letting people pave.
Okay. Pat, do you want to add anything to this?
I mean, I think if you're comparing the velocity zone where you're gonna be getting pounding waves and the pavement ripped up, it's a little bit different than an AE zone. And, you know, a lot of times we say if you can keep 50 feet outside the buffer, you know, I think we've allowed things in the past. There was an offer for some plantings, and one of the comments was that the plantings were more ornamental plants, and if there could be more of the
Yes.
rose rugosa, beach grass kind of thing, that
Absolutely.
might be a mitigation the commission would accept, but.
Did you get a chance to look at this one?
I did. Well, I drove by, yes.
Sure. I mean, we've been back and forth on some of these projects. If this was in a Barrier Beach or something like that, we've been holding the line pretty hard on not adding impervious surfaces unless there was impervious surfaces there before, or if people had a strong reason, you know, they just couldn't drive on it, somebody had no mobility issues, different things like that, we would look at that. In this case, the houses around it all have paved driveways, and at one time there was a paved driveway here, to our understanding.
That was never,
That was never proven.
Okay.
And to the right of the house, it's grass, not paved.
All right.
But if you're saying that, everything to the other side is pavement, and then after that one driveway, it's pavement.
Is there anybody in the audience, anybody else that wants to speak to this 140 Jericho Road? Okay,
You make the motion, Richard, I'm not voting.
No, I would make a motion to allow the drive. I would want to make sure we knew the exact dimensions, and I would also want to make sure that we have some mitigation regarding the plantings, that they be salt tolerant.
I would second that.
so the plantings would be like a Rosa rugosa, beach grass.
Yep.
That sort of thing that would stabilize the area around that and
Yeah,
hopefully
absolutely.
avoid
We could do that.
erosion issues. There's dimensions on this right now that show the proposed pavement at 25 by 36. Is that correct?
Yes, 25 by 6. And then it narrows in the middle to 22. From the first time, we took your recommendations and narrowed it a little bit more.
Okay. So do we have a formal, I mean, I have what's in this filing.
Right, it was an RDA, so that's all the plans we have in there.
And you're saying that the drive would be 22
I
feet wide?
had this just, and then I drew it out on the poster, but.
So it's 38, 25 at the street,
And then she
25
curved
at
it
the
in.
house and curves in.
And I think we should have a list of the plantings.
So the planting, before you do this, what you give us is a more detailed
Yeah,
drawing and show some of the plant material.
I did have that on the poster last time, and then when I heard,
We just need that, we can't put
Okay.
that in the folder.
okay, yeah, sorry.
So we need some,
Just get the, okay, the names, the seagrass and the beach
and
roses.
quantity and size and stuff like
Okay.
that, make it detailed.
Okay.
All right, so I have a motion, all right, do I have a second?
Make a motion,
We made it.
maybe. Negative, right?
Oh, negative for, yeah.
And do I have a second?
Paul seconded.
I second.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. 3-2. Okay,
Thank you.
but we will need that information before you get started.
And just pass it into you, Pat?
Yeah, you could email it to email on.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, I got it.
Murphy, 76 Lighthouse Road, remove concrete slab and steps. So on July 19th, 2017, during the 6:15 meeting at the Town Hall, the Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of James T. and Mary Ann Murphy for determination of applicability to the Massachusetts Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands Bylaws to remove a concrete slab in steps and replace the seawall, cement, and reinforced as appropriate, located at 76 Lighthouse Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Excuse me. Good evening. Do we
Here.
wanna just, are these two together?
Yeah, they're side by, the neighbors.
I'm gonna read the other one, and we can just discuss them, since they're really
Sure.
going. On July 19th, 2017, during the 6:15 meeting at the Town Hall, the Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Melissa Merriam for determination of applicability of Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands Bylaw to remove concrete slab and steps and replace with seawall, cement, and reinforced as appropriate, located at 78 Lighthouse Road, Scituate, if others other interested parties are invited to attend. So good evening. Just for the record, you guys can state your names.
Yeah, Walter Morris, 78 Lighthouse Road.
Michael Bonomi, 31 Long Meadow Road.
Mary Ann Murphy, 76 Lighthouse Road.
Evening.
Doing-
So you were in before
Yeah,
with an informal, and now you're back with this filing?
yeah. I did all the paperwork and got it all to Carol, and she did what she had to do, and it's all before you.
Do we have pictures before?
Did you bring in pictures?
Sure
Dave?
did.
Yeah, I have them again if you need to look at them again.
I'd like that.
You want to look at them? Yeah. Addresses are on the back.
I'm gonna make sure you
176.
get them back.
Yeah, no problem.
Did you see?
Yeah,
That's what's existing now.
Yeah, and you're just gonna go in the exact same.
Right, that's what I thought.
footprint, print it all out.
My
Don't wanna
mind,
go
I'm
anymore.
at an advanced stage, I need to
Well, you know, that's up. Confused every day.
Oh, yeah, that was like the,
Oh, yeah, I remember.
seems reasonable.
So Joe, the dimensions that are in this are
Oh, no.
the dimensions that are on the existing?
Yeah, I put in a plan. That's what's existing,
Okay.
yeah, and I submitted that with the
And
file.
can we keep these photos in the?
Yeah, I have another set, yeah,
Okay,
sure.
all right.
I think it's Pat's office, don't you have one
Yeah,
set too?
this is set up there in the
Okay,
file. I had.
okay. But you can keep them, we got another set.
Penny?
No, I'm happy, as long as you stay in the exact same footprint.
Exactly.
You're just replacing and repairing what.
No, they're happy with the size, what's existing and all that, they have no problems. They're just tired of Band-Aiding it.
Yeah.
Just do it once, hopefully we don't get a storm of 78 or something like that, and we'll all be happy.
That's what Amy's hoping for.
She would know, we'll be losing her.
The bad omen every time we get a new agent.
We have a bad winter.
Oh, yeah, your first winter was
Yeah.
bad.
We sleep
Be the
in
storm
town
of
hall.
17, it's
Right.
coming in December.
One right after the other.
This is your
We have had 2 mild winters.
segue. Up and then step down.
Richard,
No, I think it's an improvement, I'm fine.
It's good.
Lisa?
Yep, it's just like when we went up there.
Yeah, we had just talked to Mike about making sure that the concrete, as he's ripping it up, doesn't fall into the harbor, if he's able to keep all that clean.
Yeah, all of that's gonna
area.
be-
It's all be removed and disposed of properly off the site. While we're doing it, we'll have a little catch things to catch stuff and stuff like that. And unfortunately, it's all gonna be by buckets and wheelbarrows out to the front, you know, one of those, the kind of jobs I always get.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
Yeah, but
Are there anybody in the audience that has, like to speak to this?
I have pictures from the day we were out there.
I think we're good, I mean, I've seen.
Look,
yeah, Lisa and Pat visited the site, I don't know, a month ago or something.
A few months,
Maybe
yeah.
so.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, anybody.
How long will the permit be good for?
I think 3 years.
Usually 3 years.
3 years.
3 and 2, 3.
Three.
So you can work really slow.
No, well, they might have to
Not
find a
looking
new
like sweat.
they might need to find a new contractor by then. I'm getting ready to give it up.
Yeah, wait a minute. I want Dan to give me the okay.
Yeah, so it's a 3-year. Can that be
Can be
extended?
extended, right, if you need
We don't
more
need
time.
more.
Yeah.
No, no,
We
no,
don't need more.
no.
Let's get it over and done with. I make a motion for a -2.
On one of them, if they go through two.
Do two
votes.
two motions. One for-
Okay, I'm sorry. Is that what you were telling me?
Yeah, yeah.
That it's a, that it's
A
a
-2
three?
for 76 Lighthouse?
Is it
No,
a
this-
2 or a 3, Pat? Wait a minute.
This would be the work, so this would be a 3.
Okay. I make a motion for a -3 on 76 Lighthouse Road.
Do you need help on these?
Yeah, I do. I need some more glasses.
She usually has 2 pairs on, that, she's operating short-handed.
Second the first
Yeah.
motion.
Maybe she needs a third.
Got a second, all in favor?
Aye. And I make a motion for -3 on 78 Lighthouse Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
We're
Okay.
done.
Okay, all right, one more thing, thank you very much for that. I spoke to Pat very quickly, this is not on the thing or anything, but there's a piece of seawall at 159 Turner Road that's missing a pretty good size chunk, okay? And Pat had mentioned to me, it's on the property side of the seawall, not on the face of the seawall. And I got with the homeowner, and he's whining at me big time about why should he have to pay for it and all this. I'm about at my ends with this, but I understood that you guys had allotted so much money for repairs in certain areas of seawall, and it should be done. Who do I go with on that? Or would that crew down the street do it? It's a small patch, probably 3 by 3 or something, but I'm trying to get out of this totally and get it done properly and.
Sure. So the Conservation Commission has the jurisdiction to permit those projects.
Okay,
But not to do the construction.
right,
So I think that the person might either want to go see the DPW oversees the seawall projects,
okay.
not to pass the buck, but
Yeah.
I think that's where you want to
Okay,
start.
great, that can help. It's just one of those things that everyone's whining both sides, and I'm in the middle of the whole thing.
Yeah, well,
You know,
Middle is no fun.
good luck.
okay, thank you.
How long does it take for the permit to be signed and so
Oh,
on
yeah,
and so forth?
thank
Once
you.
get a copy of it.
Carol, it's, tomorrow, yeah.
Okay,
How's-
emailed or paper?
I'll pick them up.
Great, thank you very much.
And we will want to put, you don't wind up with a file number, but we have there's a number for, you want to have something out in front of your property
Oh, yeah,
that
Says that
signifies
you've
that
done
you got
this.
permission to do that.
Permission.
For the whole term, or just during this, when
you're
we're doing the
While you're
project?
doing the work.
Yeah, okay.
And Mike, on the seawall, it's a private seawall at 159.
Yeah.
Then DPW won't be doing it. Have the owner call us, and we could take a look and see if it could be a minor activity or a filing.
Yeah.
DPW may not own that, because they didn't own this section.
Yeah.
I think you told me that we more or less can maybe go with a minor activity on it, but then he's got to pay me,
Yeah.
and he's moaning and groaning about why should I have to pay you, and why am I, and then
You
he.
can have them call us.
Yeah.
We don't deal with that.
How much long, how
Our
much
budget
long?
for seawall repair
Yeah,
is,
how much longer you got here, Pat?
Oh, I'm part-time for a while.
Well, I'm gonna move real fast on this one. Thanks.
Is it Madden at 75 Kent Street? Is there anybody here for 75 Kent Street?
The contractor was here,
Yeah.
and we sent him on.
Oh,
So I think we could probably
okay.
do it without them here.
Okay. This is for 75 Kent Street, July 19th, 2017, during the 6:15 meeting in the Town Hall. Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of, where did I put 'em?
Something Madden.
Sue Madden for determination of applicability of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands bylaws to install a permeable paver driveway located at 75 Kent Street, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend.
Pat, it looks like they're enlarging the driveway. They're making it wider, that's for sure.
Yeah, right now, it's like a dirt and gravel driveway. And,
It's a half circle.
right, and the reason this is permeable too is that it's about 15 feet from the wetland. You know,
Yeah.
it was built a long time
Oh,
before
yeah.
the law, so.
Well, you can see the house right here.
No, I was out there.
Oh, okay.
Penny, any thoughts?
No, as long as it's permeable, I don't have a problem. It is really close to the wetlands.
But there's a
That's-
drive there now, is there?
There is a dirt drive there now. Do you want to see this?
Oh,
There's
good.
2 pages. This is bigger.
But it's going from permeable to permeable.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
but they definitely are enlarging,
They're enlarging the permeable area.
yes.
Yes.
But it's still permeable.
Right, exactly.
We're enlarging the permeable area.
I want to,
Shall we go over that again, Paul?
I want to add, just as an aside, really, that last evening, Lisa was at a coastal meeting, Coastal Advisory Commission meeting that we had, and while it was there, a group of 8th graders had done a whole set of projects on how we can handle various coastal activities and remedies for it, and these were 8th graders that did it, and one of them was all about permeable pavement and both the goods and the bads of it. I'm not going to go into details now, but I thought Lisa will testify. It was really encouraging to see 8th graders come up with some of these ideas, some of which probably wouldn't work, but very creative and with remedies from all over the world. So it's interesting. That's why we were chuckling about permeable pavement coming up.
That was at the library?
What a beautiful place. Yes.
It's too bad it wasn't televised, though. That's
Yeah, it would have been fun.
Well, next time I'll bring my video camera.
So any thoughts on this? You good?
I'm good with it.
Paul? Lisa?
Good.
Pat, you want to add anything to this?
No, -3. Amy was there too.
It's a big house.
Do you have any problems, Frank?
Nope.
Want to check the audience?
Anybody thank you. Anybody that wants to speak to 75 Kent Street?
I'm making a
Okay.
motion for -3 then.
All right.
Or a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Pat, on this one, we want to make sure that we get some erosion control. I mean, there's going to be a fair amount of disturbance right around in there, so in that RDA should be.
Yeah, the contractor talked about providing erosion control, so we'll remind them.
It's all so close to everything, he can't afford to be putting material
Right.
out of the driveway. Everything's got to stay sort of contained to that.
Yeah, because a few years back, we had somebody down the street,
Yeah, we did.
and it was a nightmare. And we went down, and everything was just going. So,
All right. Town of Scituate, DPW, 430 Chief Justice Cushing Highway, Reservoir continued. Good evening.
Tom Cook with Tetra Tech, want to give you an update. We're getting very close to finishing the MEPA process. I think at the last time I was here, I told you the executive office asked for a 2-week extension on the comment period so the Department of Marine Fisheries could comment. That was extended to July 11th, and we are expecting our certification to be issued this Friday, the 21st. It'll be publicly noticed on Monday, so we'll know exactly what is coming down for that whole environmental impact report exercise. Doesn't look like there's anything unexpected coming in. We've got comments from the Corps of Engineers, US EPA, DEP, all the different boards there. There's nothing unusual. It's primarily the vegetation, the impacts on the vegetation as we've expected. And the drinking water department wants a firm yield analysis. So it was pretty much, what we've expected. And so I would suggest that you continue the hearing until the next one, so that once we get the formal letters in hand, we could sit down with Amy and Pat and basically review this before the next meeting. Does that make
Yeah, I
sense?
think they're recommending that we issue a denial because of the amount of disturbance, so I don't know, do we need to?
Well, I was gonna say, if we're issuing a denial, how much preparation do you have to do for a denial?
I mean, we'll want to know what MEPA's going to require and the EIR and stuff, but,
I think we should approve it.
It's just a very convoluted,
yeah.
the whole
Right.
thing. It's like we're going against.
So, I mean,
ourselves.
we could get an update on the MEPA if we want, so.
Okay, so do you
Do
want
you
to?
get that? I mean, Amy, that we're, they really want us to deny this as part of the process. I mean, it all seems like the right thing to do, not only from some additional water source or supply, and then at the same time, the fisheries and fish ladder and having, so I'm just a little perplexed why we want to deny it, other than it just crosses over thresholds beyond our approval.
Right. We can't approve more than 5,000 square feet of disturbance, so then DEP takes it over and,
Light finally goes on.
I mean, that's
Okay,
really all
so
it
you're
comes
not
down
ready
to.
to
is that
go
we're
to
just-
It only took 3 meetings
Yeah.
for me to finally figure out why they wanted denial. That's good, now I got it.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I don't know
So
his
we're
name.
Tom.
waiting for
Tom.
additional information, that's why we're not closing.
right.
Is that-
Yeah, it'd be
Right.
good to review the MEPA and the EIR, the draft EIR information, but then eventually, whether this project happens or not, will be taken out of our hands.
Right,
by
right,
the
no, I
state.
followed
Yeah.
that whole thing.
We're gonna deny it, but we want more information
Yeah.
before we deny it.
Yeah, no, I've heard about this and read up on this one,
Yeah.
but it sounds like we're waiting for additional information before our file is complete and we can deny it, basically. So you're gonna give us
Yeah.
more information?
I think our permitting folks are suggesting that it'd be in your best interest to have what NEPA's process is saying has to be done, so you know what's coming down.
Yeah. So we'll leave it open for another meeting.
So we'll continue it.
Or the second.
Well, is there anybody in the audience?
Can
Go ahead, Penny.
Tom, I'd just like to ask you a question. So do you feel as though once the MEPR, all that info comes into you, then will you be ready for it to go to DEP? In the sense of us denying it?
Yes.
Do you think the next meeting would?
Yeah, the next step, once we get an understanding of what all the different agencies want us to do, then we will have a plan together to address those issues. We have to prepare an environmental impact report.
Right.
So I don't know if there's anything that you may want to include, ask us to do in that environmental impact report beyond what all the agencies have said. So I think that probably would be good for you to know, so if there's anything else you think of, we can make sure we address it. Once you deny it, then what we have to do is appeal the DEP for a superseding order, and then they have to deny us, and then we got to file for a variance, okay? So we're entering a very long process here. The EIR is probably going to take like a year to get done, anyway. Okay, so,
I guess what I'm actually asking is, so the MEPA report that you're gonna get at the end of the week, that's the last thing that we need?
yes.
Okay.
They will be telling us they'll give us an outline of the EIR that they want.
Okay.
So we'll know exactly what everybody's requiring.
Does anybody have any questions? Anybody in the audience?
Judy Arnson, 19 Cudworth. Do you know about the other project that they're planning to flush that well through Tech Factory Pond? Do you know that they're trying to do that too? Because that might, have some kind of play in what you're trying to do on the reservoir also.
The other project?
Tom?
Yeah, there's two other ones. There's a proposed one where they're gonna really change the amount of magnesium that's in the water, but then there's also drilling beside the current well, across the pond from you guys. and they're gonna run a pipe through the wetlands to get out there.
Yeah, was that the one that was 2 weeks ago? And I
Yes.
thought that was continued to tonight or
Yeah.
no?
Well,
Is that also
the
tonight?
commission voted on it, but we had to check with DEP to make sure they're okay with it, so it's been sent to the regional director of DEP, because under an emergency, they might have some way of permitting some disturbance to the wetland beyond what we could allow. So the water division and the wetland division should be talking to each other. So if you wanna email us, I can send you a copy of what we sent to DEP, and we're waiting to hear from.
Okay, so then that meeting will be another time.
Well, we may not be meeting, we may
It
be
might
hearing
just-
from DEP, yes, I know.
Okay, I just didn't know if this project would, because it's all affecting the water resource. Do you know what I mean? So if this is going on the other side, I think they should actually know if something else, more water is gonna be pushing through there. That's all.
Tom, what she's referring to is the DPW has proposed that they have it discharged from well, I think it was
17.
17. Right now, that well is sort of high in magnesium. And that well pumps from its location inland of the reservoir off Old Oak and Bucket Road.
Tap Factory Pond Drive.
Right. And it comes down Old Oak and Bucket and it discharges into the Greenbush Pond. But what will happen is that if that's running 24/7, a lot of that water goes over the spillway, especially at night or when they're not pumping as much. So what the DPW is proposing to do is to discharge that well into the Tack Factory Pond, the smaller reservoir, as opposed to pump it all the way down to the Greenbush Pond. So there'll be added water being added to that Tack Factory Pond reservoir.
The drinking water department at DEP has requested a firm yield analysis update. So all that will have to be tied into that analysis.
Knowing this other project.
Yes, those
Yeah.
will have to be in the next phase of the design addressed. And the EIR has got to have a firm yield analysis for the watershed. So that will impact that analysis. So we will be diving into that.
Yeah, because it's gonna be, they wanna flush it right into the first herring brook, which
Yeah.
is Tap Factory Pond.
Okay.
So that'd be very good.
All right, just it should be part of that process. Thank you, Judy. Anybody else? All right, so
Okay, so I make a motion that we continue on the Scituate DPW reservoir to August 2nd at 7 o'clock.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay, thank you.
Guard, 8 Holmes Street, construct and maintain ramp pier, canoe, kayak, grab, and float. On July 19th, 2017, at 6:45 p.m., the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws, Section 30700, Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding and bear to construct, maintain ramp, pier, canoe, and kayak ramp and float on the South River on property located at 8 Home Street, Humrock. Others and other interested parties are invited to attend. Good evening.
Good evening.
My name's Kevin McGuire, and with me is Philip Hart, who's the representative for Canabad, who is the applicant for the proposed pier. The pier's at 8 Home Street, it's approximately 50 feet long, and it's 4 feet wide. At the end of the pier, on both sides of it, the last 12 feet is two-sided canoe and kayak ramp, 2.5 feet wide on both sides of the pier. And at the end of the pier, we ramp it down into the float. The float is located just beyond the middle. proposing to use for which can be driven by tripod on land to let the pier run. But if we could put equipment underneath the bridge, we probably do 10-inch pipe that would hold up the last section of the pier. That last section of the pier where the whole direction of the down line should be going off of that, and we'll leave the hole in the floating place.
Are those the green cards for this project?
I gave them to Jeremy.
Okay.
And you can take a look up on top of the plan, there's a section CC, and it shows the pier, profile of the pier. Up from the top of the plan, there's the pier, and there's the ramp going down, and you can see the angle lines that are holding the float in place. If we had our druthers and we can't get that piece of equipment underneath the bridge, or another alternative method, maybe putting some cribbing out there and getting a crane out there to have the piles in, we would probably use adjustable float shoes to support that float about 2.5 feet above the water, which is a DEP and waterways and marine fisheries requirement. We can't get the piece of equipment up into the river, then the float will be elevated above the substrate by skids.
Yeah, you have a lot of time when the low tide is just too low at that area.
Yeah.
Right, and when it's high tide, there's not much clearance
No,
under
there's
that
no
bridge.
clearance.
Right,
And it's very shallow there.
yeah.
And there's a kind of a shoal that runs
Right.
from the Hummerock side over
Right.
into Scituate. So the pier stops about 20 feet, 22 feet before the main low water line. So the ramp bridges that distance out into the float. The float, the shore end of the float will sit right along the main low water line. And it's 10 feet wide, and the outer edge, of course, will have about a foot or so of water underneath it. And that's what Mr. Bart wanted to have, because the primary objective with the pier is for canoes, and you will be able to access the water at all times. There's also a section, I believe it's BB.
I know.
Pictures really don't show much. There's nothing there to look at.
No, you gotta go to the end of the street there.
Right. There's a section BB, down here, that shows the canoe and kayak rack. Down that area.
This, assuming is low tide.
Close to low tide. It gets even lower.
Yeah.
So we had discussions with the harbor master. We have a copy of this in Appendix A of the Notice of Intent, a copy of the letter that we sent to him and the date that he received it. He looked at it a couple of times. And as long as we weren't obstructing any kind of boat traffic traversing the river there, he was comfortable, I wouldn't say supportive, but comfortable with that.
Penny?
I don't have any questions, thank you.
Richard?
I don't have any questions at this moment.
Paul?
No questions.
At low tide, will these floats be on the bottom?
It won't sit on the bottom, it will be elevated 2.5 feet above the water.
Okay.
So at the, what shows you in that section, CC, the ramp goes down, that's the float, and it's 2.5 feet above, so it will be 2.5 feet above the water on the shore end, but it will probably be 1.5 feet above the water because of the slope of the ground above the water at the river.
Is this all to be permanent all year round, or will any of it be
No, it's
removed?
seasonal float.
Okay.
It will come out in the winter.
Okay.
Intend on taking it out. in the
Yes.
winter.
Okay.
And the beauty of this, there aren't any piles out in the river.
Right.
As I said, the closest set a fence to the river, about 20 feet, so it's not an obstruction. Our biggest problem up there would be ice, because the water.
Yeah, if you don't take it out in the winter, when we have ice, it will.
Because it will freeze up at that part of the river.
And you have to maintain those things, so you'd be able to walk out, if the ice does start to build up on those piles and chip it away.
Not our problem. A lot of times they put it right on top of the part that is
I think they're
permanent.
not supposed to store it on a marsh or
Well,
on a
that's why I was asking.
Oh, well, actually, that's a very good question, Penny.
Yeah.
Where are you going to store it?
In the driveway.
Usually,
Behind the house?
if there's one location, which is the South River Yard, they store floats there.
Yes, they do. The point is, it can't be stored in the marsh.
Okay.
And there is marsh, but it's not on this property, about 80, 90 feet towards the bridge, there's a little section of marsh. It's not shown on the plans.
We don't want it on
Can't be in the marsh. Okay.
any resource area.
Anybody in the audience? Pat or Amy?
You have the fisheries letter, marine fisheries. Is there any other letters you're waiting for? Is Corps of Engineers commenting, or are they?
No, we filed with the Corps the same time we filed with you. As I said a few times I've been here, we have to get through Concom before we can even file with Chapter 9.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they change it, and what we've approved is different from what,
Maybe
you know, a lot
back.
of times they'll change the decking, the lighting, the spacing.
Yeah.
So,
We did get a copy of that letter from Marine Fisheries, and Phil, did we put together something? I don't know if
Response.
if you brought it with you.
They normally require some specific spacing.
Well, on the plan, you'll see that the decking, they require 3/4 of an inch. On our plans, we always put an inch between the decking. And it has to be elevated, there was marsh there, it has to be elevated 4 feet above the marsh at its lowest longitudinal number. Yeah, but in this instance, there isn't any marsh, and it's above that.
Cobble.
A lot of cobble.
The sun can shine on the cobble.
So any other thoughts?
yeah, no, a lot of times we're dealing with travel over a marsh or beach grass or something. This is the house and then a cobble bottom to the river right there, so.
Yeah.
Okay. There's no other comments.
I make a motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. You want a copy of the response back?
Is this fisheries?
Yeah.
Yeah. If they do change.
I'm just gonna read this and start over.
Boy, thank you. And you're getting permission to build that house. Probably, so it's a beautiful house, and thank you again. I look forward to living down here.
Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Going to be there all year?
29 months. When I retire. We'll be something down here walking weekends. Thank you.
On July 19th, 2017, at 7 p.m., the Townhouse Situate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700, Town of Situate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Brian Burke to construct a new dwelling, including utilities, landscaping, and grading on property located at 50 Surfside Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend.
You know, Bob. Boy.
Yep.
Thank you.
Gonna wait for the most important member.
And she's back, see? Thank you, sir.
You could have just turned the heat up.
No.
The heat up, I think everybody would shoot me.
Yep.
Yep.
And I got a nice toasty sweater.
Nobody wants to leave here. I think we want to make it warmer so we can get out of here.
I'm just too cold.
Mr. Arvino?
My name is Paul Maravito from Ross Engineering Company, representing the applicant for the project, Kevin Burke. The applicant owns an existing lot on the west side of Surfside Road, this being the ocean, and the other houses that front the ocean. The lot contains approximately 41,700 square feet of land. The perimeter of which is outlined in yellow. It also borders to the west on West Washington Pond. 3 years ago, this was a application for an ORAD, for an ANRAD, which resulted in an ORAD, which has been extended for another 3 years. This first pink line is the edge of the BVW, which abuts the pond. This is a 50-foot buffer. This is the 100-foot buffer. The existing site from the street to the wetland is a mowed and maintained lawn. It's been that way for several decades. The applicant is proposing to construct a single-family home in the front part of the property. The area in brown will be the house and the garage, and the yellow is a open deck on two sides of the house. The resource areas are the BVW. It's also on a state map, Barrier Beach. It's also in land subject to coastal historic flowage, which is a firm zone AE with an elevation of 14. The house, because it's on a barrier beach, has to be built on wood-driven piles, and that's the proposal. The elevation of the first floor of the house will be at 16, which is 2 feet above the FEMA requirement. It's also 1 foot above the local conservation commission's requirement of 1 foot for the first floor above the base flood of 14. There's a sewer betterment on the property, so the house will be serviced by sewer, water, and natural gas. The elevation of the land is going to remain the same. The water area will remain intact, including the area underneath the house. The driveway will be a clamshell driveway, so it's pervious, similar to what's in the front of the property, which is a gravel packed area for parking. What we're proposing along the edge of the wetland is a strip of Rosa rugosa. The purpose for that is to keep out any inland intrusion into this area behind the wetland wall. It would also keep people out of this area. Just to the north of the property, there's the existing condominium complex where they're paved stone in this area here, and their access is into the street here. The house has been placed 31 feet from the street. That's as close as we can go. So what we did was to put it toward the street. The proposed work is between the 50 and the 100-foot buffer zone. There's no work proposed inside the 50-foot buffer. As far as performance standards under the DEP regulations, there are no performance standards for land subject to coastal storm flowage. However, because it's on the barrier beach, it has to be on files, which we're proposing. Under the town of Scituate regulations at section 10.3a, we're doing work in the land subject to coastal storm flowage. We clearly meet those performance standards. I'll just review them quickly, and I put them in the narrative as well. The activities will not increase the elevation of any flood water due to change in drainage characteristics. Right now, the land slopes from the street back toward the pond. It's a relatively flat site. It's at elevation 7, and it flows back here at elevation 5. The first floor of the dwelling will be 1 foot above the firm flood elevation. It's 16. The dwelling is not on the poured concrete foundation. and the proposed driveway will be pervious in nature. There is no mounted septic system in the land simply close to South Roads because it will be serviced by town sewer with the existing sewer line. The work is not going to destroy the buried beach, and it will not alter the wetland area. And there's no work proposed within the 50-foot buffer zone other than the proposed plantings, which could be installed by hand. With that, I think with that, I'll end the presentation and answer any questions you have.
Any?
Oh, just one thing, we did receive the DEP file number on this today, and there were no comments.
Okay, we just recently closed on 2 lots very similar to this down the street. And if I remember correctly, I would like the plantings to be up at the 50-foot line. That, am I correct that we made them let that grow in the 50-foot buffer? Because it's all grass too.
Right, where's the 50-foot buffer on this one?
This is right here.
It's that middle pink
This one here.
Pink is the 50.
So is that lawn all the way down to the
So this is all
wetlands now?
lawn. And they're putting the rose proposal right at the wetland line.
Right, and we put it up at the 50.
We put it at the 50 and everything had to
And
grow in.
I would even want it to go along the borders.
Yeah. That would
I'm
be
with her on
my
this.
comment I'd like to pull over. Because I think we should definitely, they should all be identical.
Anything else?
No, that was, otherwise I'm fine.
Yeah, I agree with it. And I'd like to see them extend on the sides as well, but yeah, I agree. I'd like to see them moved up.
Okay. Paul?
No comments.
I'm sorry.
Lisa?
I agree with Penny and Rich.
Pat, Amy?
Well, is the roof drainage captured in that infiltration trench? Is that what that is?
Yes.
Okay. In the proposed plantings along the BVW, is there a number of plants or a width of the area that you're gonna be doing those? Like, is there a planting plan that you could?
The area scales about 10 feet out from the wetland, up, and what they do is they stack
Got
them.
it.
The rows and rows will spread over time.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to plant them too close, because then they choke each other out.
Okay. I don't know, Frank, if you wanted to see structurals when they're completed. We don't have a set here
No.
unless you.
What I said in the narrative was that prior to construction, they would submit to you the pile
Okay.
foundation plan. We don't have one at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had the no mow area that Penny was talking about on the last one, and plantings on no mow or something.
So the other projects, the no disturb area is at the 50. And the planting, so that area between the edge of the marsh or whatever and the 50 would get planted out as mitigation for being within the 100.
I'd like to address that. Under your local rules and regulations, one of the things that they say is that one of the performance standards is that there's no work being done inside the 50-foot buffer, and there isn't. This is an existing lawn area which they can continue to use. Okay, if we're going to do anything, what I propose is that we put it, bring the plantings out to the 5-foot contour and bring it across to the edge of this pavement here. This is all pavement in this area where the buildings are. What I propose is that we put them along the 5-foot contour so they can get more of an overtaking backyard and use that existing lawn area for people living in the house. It's kind of a compromise. They take the 50-foot strip of an existing lawn, which is maintained, which they do have a right to use because it's been there prior to the act. But they're good compromise and go from there and bring along that contour. Then they have simple behind the house and use that lawn. The kids playing and badminton.
I want all this stuff.
Right, but that is a good compromise, because it is an existing lawn.
The other one was an existing one, too.
Right, well, so 3 mistakes don't make a right.
No, I'm just saying
yeah.
that they do have to
And they're
have
not
that house
working.
in the 100.
They're not working in a resource area.
No, but also, you know, it is within the 100 house, that house, or.
Right, but they're allowed to work in the 100, and there's no
Yes,
mitigation
but
required.
it still is our jurisdiction, Paul.
Right, jurisdiction, so they have to be here at a
And ask
hearing.
for mitigation for that and possibly, you know.
And what
I just
mitigate,
don't
what's
wanna-
the ratio of mitigation for the 100?
I think 1 to 1. That's why I want to research it. I'm not going to make a decision
Okay.
tonight.
Okay.
You know, if I may, the reason I quoted those performance standards in the local bylaw is that we meet every one of those. The primary one being that there's no work in the 50-foot buffer, there's no mounted septic system. We aren't changing the drainage, we aren't changing the grades. We meet all of your performance standards, so I wasn't planning on going any further with that lawn than the edge of the Rosa Rugosa. But, you know, we could compromise and go on that 5-foot
Yeah, I
contour.
just want to do a little.
That'd be fair
Research
research.
on what Paul is asking.
What was that, Paul? I didn't,
I said, what mitigation is required for work in the 100-foot?
none.
Right.
It's not, never was.
Well,
Mitigation is usually something you do when you're going to work in a resource area.
Right, in the 50-foot or the wetlands.
Mitigation can be offered voluntarily if you're working outside of that. And that's why I proposed the Rosa Rugosa.
And, I mean, he offered a mitigation on Rosa Rugosa, but it is a resource area, it's land subject to coastal storm flowage, and the reason for the mitigation might be that there's gonna be some a concrete pad put into a resource area. So I think it's fair to ask for mitigation, it's just whatever, you know, can be negotiated between them.
Anybody in the audience to speak to this? Well, I would agree with Penny. We just had a hearing for 2 other projects that were similar, and I'd like to be consistent in where we place those plantings and that area. Some of it had to do with where existing vegetation was.
Right. I agree with her also.
I wish I had thought of it earlier today. I
Yeah,
would've
we
looked
have
at
the 2 files
back
here.
there.
We have both previous files from down the street here, if you wanted to look at them.
Do we have where we located the plantings on?
Here's the landing in the order. It's one of these conditions here.
I know there was a no-mow zone back there.
Mentions specific. Because we brought it out from their reference plan.
So this one, Penny, we agreed to go 30 feet from the edge of the wetland towards the
Okay.
house.
That's fine. And that's a no-mow zone too?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
That would be pretty much what he offered, actually. That would be pretty much what he offered.
Well, I'm not,
No, I know.
Yeah.
I got it. I'm saying he's, Paul's actually you're actually on the beam with your idea.
Pardon?
I say, that's kind of your idea on the,
oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So you're talking, coming to where, Paul?
I'm talking.
He's just talking about using a
Underline
contour
this
line instead of
Here.
just going
You
parallel.
see the parking?
Yeah.
Yeah, because in that one there, the back of the house is right on the 50-foot buffer.
No,
But
but I'd also, if you go along that line, I'd also suggest you put them along the edge here too,
Yeah.
that's all.
You do that.
They're not terrible.
Oh, yeah, that'd be fine.
So where do you wanna?
What do you
That's actually
propose?
the line
What
he's
kind?
looking at, the 5, the elevation 5, I guess.
Okay.
I couldn't tell from here, but yeah, and that'd be fine, Paul. At least, to me it is.
No, I like it.
I don't know if it's correct.
But you're gonna follow that 5 straight across?
Yeah.
Yeah, what we'll do is take it across to the corner of the, I think this is the corner of the parking lot there.
Okay.
And that'll be effectively the same or more area.
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly what
Yeah.
we,
Okay. Anybody else? Is there a motion?
I make a motion to close.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
And, no, it's all set. I just wanted to bring up one thing that's outside of our jurisdiction. It's the zoning floodplain bylaw. And the only reason I'm mentioning it was shown on the plan, and there's a discrepancy on this that you'll have to work out with zoning board of appeals or with the building department, because the flood zone on the electronic floodplain map, it goes out to Surfside. And the one on the paper copy that you've referenced is quite a bit less than that. So you're gonna have to work that out with zoning and building.
Just to the record, we resolved this issue 4 years ago with a zoning enforcement officer. And the reason we did that was because the sewer was in the street, and the town had sent all the neighbors their final costs for the sewer. From that point on, they had 6 months to either pay the betterment or appeal it. If if the lot wasn't buildable and you didn't appeal that within 6 months, you would end up paying $20,000 in whatever period. So the owner had us approach the zoning enforcement officer to determine whether or not we were in the floodplain and watershed protection district, and this is the line that we agreed to. So everything from here down, we show it on the plan, is the floodplain and watershed protection district. This area is not in it. New construction could not take place inside the floodplain and watershed protection district. If you look at the 72 map, which is the map that's referred in the zoning bylaw, everyone's looking at the new map. The bylaw is very specific. I mentioned it in my hearing. 72 map shows you can clearly see that there's an area between here and here that is outside of that floodplain district. This property here, even though they're in it, because that's the existing house, as a matter of right, they could put a 3-car garage here. So that's right.
Pat, you know what, and this is not jurisdiction, and we don't need to be doing zoning.
It was only because it was on our
No,
plan.
but I do have a question. A few years ago, I think it might have been, I'm not sure if you were the agent at that time, we had a hearing on a property on Foam Road.
yes, Zero Foam Road.
And
Yes.
we approved that,
What a memory.
we approved that project. We couldn't deny it for the application that came here, but ultimately, the zoning board denied construction on that project. And I just wonder what the difference was between, which, again, it isn't our purview, but I do wonder with some of these sites and that decision at Zero Foam Road, and I don't know if it's because it was in a floodplain.
The elevation of that, the map showed, I believe that's the one where the map showed it to be in the floodplain and watershed protection district. That's a zoning issue. Conservation deal.
No, again, we don't want to go down that road, but I thought of it the other day, something came up.
It went to court. I don't know what the final outcome was, but
Right.
it was appealed. And on a lot of these, they referenced the 10-foot contour line, and this is 5 foot, 7 foot, so this is below that, but the paper map has been what they've been ruling on. So I just reminding him to get it checked out with.
We did that. We wouldn't be here unless we did that. And the other reason we did it was because they were facing a $20,000 sewer betterment. And again, you have 6 months to appeal that. Town council's rules, if you don't appeal it in 6 months, and there's many lots in the town of Scituate right now where people can't build and they're paying the sewer betterment and they aren't aware of it. And it's too late for the appeal. You're stuck with it, period. And the town council's ruled on that.
Interesting.
There's no leeway. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Come up to that table. Don't come up to me. Yes, I did.
Oh, It's good. Took a while.
We have show cause hearing.
Came in.
We have something that's, could be quicker than that.
Okay.
The enforcement order endorsement may be something we need less discussion on. Okay, so you would probably have to recuse yourself.
Yeah.
on this one.
Yep.
Is there the people here for the, is anybody speaking to that, or?
Well, yeah, I can talk to it.
All right.
so.
I read it, but you go ahead.
Okay, well, should we wait for Lisa?
Yeah,
We
wait for
need-
Lisa.
Who run off?
No.
You're needed. Well, then, hurry up. Everybody sit there talking about it. Yes. We'll wait for Lisa, I guess. Going to take just a minute here and wait for our fourth member to come back. Should just be a minute.
Because we don't have a quorum without it.
That's right.
We need Lisa. Three doesn't make it.
Well, we really can't do anything.
Do you want to do those lights?
Yeah, thanks for
Oh, no, we don't have a quorum.
Right, we can't do anything.
We're stuck for a minute.
Where's that?
Good initiative. Poor judgment, good initiative.
Doesn't always work.
Okay, Pat, we're talking about an enforcement order on 23 Sunset, Plain Drive?
Right. You know, as the agent, I can issue the enforcement order, but I bring it to the, you know, the commission members to endorse it. This came about from a discussion last time where it was decided that the fill that had been put in there that created an isolated wetland on one side and a BVW on the other, at one point had been connected as a wetland, so we're asking that they remove all of the fill that's in there along that road.
Right.
So to do that, he needs to file a notice of intent. So that we started the process with an enforcement order stating what needs to be done. And I sent it to everybody, I think I sent it to everybody else too, about, you know, nothing will go forward on this project until this issue is taken care of and a notice of intent is filed.
Right.
So,
For the removal.
for the removal.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, and we referenced the lots on either side of the gravel road. There's like 4 lots, but it seems to be all under one ownership. So we've referenced the owner's name that we had originally, and then we sent it to the engineer, and he assured us that they would get going on this. So, and we delayed them a little bit. He couldn't file a notice until he had the enforcement order, so it threw the whole thing back a week or so.
So you have received a response?
I received a response from the engineer that, yep, thank you for getting this out. We're going to be getting it going now. And I sent copies of the enforcement order to as many addresses as I had from the abutting community.
Okay.
So it would take signatures, and we have it on the agenda, so I imagine we could have a discussion. I'd be reluctant to take much new information without the applicant and the
Discussion.
property owner.
What would there be to
I
discuss?
know, a lot of people, I didn't know if they had questions about the enforcement order or not, but just making sure that it gets signed and done, you know.
We would love a little bit of discussion, but we promise to keep it brief.
Okay, and it has to be within the...
No new testimony or anything, we understand that, absolutely.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, you wanted to say something?
Yes, I do.
Please do.
Okay, so the enforcement order is going out, and so we will wait until a notice of intent comes back to us for the removal.
Yes.
And then we'll have a public meeting on that,
Yep.
what they're going to
Yep,
remove.
how they're gonna do it, right.
How they're gonna
Yep.
do it in the time frame.
Right.
And the notice of intent that is, I keep continuing, we will keep continuing because we are not discussing that until the enforcement order has been met.
Right.
And the violation has been corrected.
Right, and if there's any issues around the continuance of the initial order, I will run it by legal counsel. We haven't had any like this, so just want to make sure.
We've had some that we've, over the years.
Overlapping orders and
Yeah,
notices.
they've gone
yeah.
on and on and on, you know,
Yeah.
we just keep
Okay.
continuing.
Paul, anything? Lisa? Anything? Okay, but you already spoke to the caveat on this. You
Yep.
can't take anything
We
on the
understand,
original.
we really just have questions about the draft enforcement order and just.
Can we have
the
your
mechanics
name,
of
your
it.
name and address, please?
Sure, Gabe Crocker, registered professional civil engineer for CHA Consulting in Norwell, also a Scituate resident. Here representing Jim and Mary Bristol, also here is Janet Bristol and Susan Mays, another direct abutter, and Rob Kraus, attorney counsel for the abutters. What is so when the enforcement order gets issued, what is the timeline that enforcement order requires the notice of intent to be filed?
That's a very, very good question. In fact, we dealt with that earlier. It is as soon as possible, and in this case, if we don't get a fast response, we will issue a date for it to be done.
Okay, so you issue it.
We have
without
not,
a
we
date?
have, am I right, Pat? We have not at this time given a specific date,
Yeah,
but we
no
are quite willing to
further-
if we have to.
Yeah, it was pretty much saying, no further work can take place, file it as, you know, we should put a date on here. Yep, we can actually do that. We can,
I mean, by at
step
least
it up,
putting a
it's
date,
not
you can always
specific.
modify it if you
Yeah.
need to.
Right.
but-
Exactly. Nope,
Right.
it's a good comment, and that's something that we will do.
oh, okay, here it is. We already did kind of cover ourselves. To be determined at the July 19th Conservation Commission meeting, we will determine a date. So we can do that now. Thanks for reminding us on that, but we can pick a date. When he would need to be.
What's reasonable?
Maybe sooner, because he's already received this.
So should we say, again, by the 2nd? By our next meeting?
A notice?
The 19th would be better, the 2nd's really got some heavy stuff going on.
Yeah, but we need the response and the
For a
NOI.
notice to be heard on the 2nd? I think
Right, as he
we
pointed
missed
out, you
that.
can always extend, but
It
usually
needs
the
to be
problem with
filed.
these
I'm-
things.
We're really talking about filing it.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, okay,
Right.
hearing it,
Yeah.
because.
Yeah, not hearing it,
That-
filing it.
Yeah.
Filing it,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
That sound reasonable by the 2nd, filed by the
Yes.
2nd?
Yeah.
To be heard on the 9th.
Yep, okay.
The order also is obviously is specific to the illegal fill that's within that segment of McLean Drive. But we didn't see any mention of the illegal water main and utilities that were installed underneath it. We'd ask that as part of it, we get removing the fill, but shouldn't we also be removing and disconnecting the unpermitted water main that was installed through it?
I'm not
And
sure.
and that was completely done by the property owner. The town wasn't involved in that
Correct.
part of it.
It was a private illegal water main that was installed, excavated, installed, and then filled on top of it. So if we're gonna go in and do this, this is the opportunity to do it right. You know, we've brought it to a head, and we wanna say thank you both to Pat and you guys for bringing it here, but if we're gonna do it,
Yeah.
shouldn't we be asking for that too as part of the order?
Yeah, we focused on the wetland connection and the soils and excavating that out, but that's a good point, and we can probably add it to this enforcement order. I should run it by legal counsel, but I think that's a good idea if,
Right, if you're making them basically restore a wetland to the way it was,
Right.
you're gonna remove.
Remove everything that they
Right.
put in. Couldn't we
Right.
just have hopefully have the wording changed to remove
yeah, let me
everything that was
run
done?
it by Brandon tomorrow.
I think though, you need, there's a fire hydrant there. Is that water main connected? Is that the water for that fire hydrant?
Yes.
Yeah.
You wanna be without a fire hydrant down there?
Well,
I think that's something we need to talk to town council and you wanna talk to DPW.
And we should also confirm that it is tied into it.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm pretty sure it is.
Probably isn't turned on.
Yeah, we don't think it's turned on. It's privately owned, it's not part of the public water system, but it is connected to it, so it should go.
We need to investigate
Sure.
that.
I understand, it should be coordinated with.
You'd have fire in your house and that's the
Right.
only, right?
Right.
But ultimately,
But if
if
they're
it's
doing it, they could
private, and it's
also-
on private property,
Well, no,
and-
I
yeah.
understand.
Right, but they could also put the hydrant on the street main, which is publicly owned. It doesn't
Right.
have to be on the private subdivision road that was illegally constructed
But
and
we have
installed.
to find out,
Okay.
that's all.
You raise good points. We will take care of them.
Thank you. Also, as part of, so, we understand the other order of conditions is on hold. That makes sense while this is pending. But we're in a situation now where we're asking the applicant, or requiring the applicant to file a notice of intent. But we haven't settled the issue of the resource areas and their delineation. That was kind of still in flux on the other one. So is the right time to do that as part of the notice of intent that we're requiring them to file now, make it part of this requirement that we address the resource areas on a holistic basis for the parcel. It's a notice of intent, you have to delineate them. We're gonna be dealing with quantifying impacts and buffers, which resource areas, all of that. Wouldn't it make sense to actually nail that down as part of this?
Well, an enforcement order isn't usually a delineation of resource areas.
No, but-
It's a enforcement order, and it stands on its own
Agreed.
to make everything.
But you're requiring that they file a notice of intent in order to do the work, which is the right thing to do. So as part of the NOI, that should be a step as part of the NOI. The question is, do you want to clarify that? Should we clarify that as part of the order, that we want that resolved as part of it?
It doesn't have to be.
Yeah, well, we've talked about
Yeah.
where they've filled it. We want to know where the wetland might have been in that area, so they're going to be doing some type of delineation there. The bigger issue is the whole larger parcel. We've asked them why they've included this whole parcel for this one lot in this corner. Can we get away from the old farm fill? I mean, there's a lot of fill put over there for agriculture. And, I mean, do we need to really have that far end of things involved in this piece?
I'm not sure we do.
I don't,
No, the enforcement order is to remove the fill, and the NOI is what they're gonna remove and how.
Right, but I know Gabe's point is, there's a whole big parcel that was initially submitted, all the different pieces were mentioned in the notice.
That's a good point, though. I mean, you don't necessarily have to file all of the same pieces in order to, it would have to be the parcels in which the mitigation is happening on, but as a matter of whatever is filed as the notice of intent, you have to nail down the resource areas associated with that NOI in order to approve the work.
Well, to just have an enforcement order with an NOI to remedy the enforcement order, we don't need to do any delineation, or it's gonna be very specific on what needs to be remedied. We don't need to talk about resource areas, or if houses are gonna be built, or,
Well, except for the area where they're excavating, we do.
right,
yeah,
right, that area
You
specifically.
gotta quantify what the impacts are within the resource areas.
Right,
Right, that they're working on.
right. We've asked legal counsel about the bigger picture, and the naming of all the owners, the proper, identification.
that's with the other NOI.
Yeah, and that whole piece is, it's nowhere near where they're proposing to work. So if there were a way to, revise it so that we're looking at a section of this parcel and we nail down, I mean, we've looked at coastal bank, the coastal beach, and we've looked at the BVW, and we've realized it's not an IVW, so.
No,
But-
and I agree with all that, but actually in Sebastian's report, he actually determines the entire 4.79 acres is wetland, bordering vegetated wetland.
Well, let me suggest this if I can. You've made some very good points. We're going to have to relook at the enforcement order to begin with, and Pat's already said we'll check with legal counsel. So we'll throw that in for judgment as well and see what we can do.
I appreciate that.
We appreciate that we're just using Mr. Gray's report as sort of a guideline to follow along for what we think should be in the enforcement order. We're using your own experts' words.
We appreciate that. May we have your name, please?
Yes, sir. Robert Kraus.
Okay.
Representing the abutters. Thank you, sir.
And then I apologize, one more thing, and then that's the end of it for us, from my end.
Gavel, where's your gavel?
Yeah, there's also still a question outstanding in Mr. Gray's report about the area not associated with what's identified in this enforcement order, but another fill area that he couldn't determine whether it was illegal or legal.
Yeah.
And he brings up the need for further investigation. So the question from our end is, if it's not part of this enforcement order, will the commission be issuing a second enforcement order to bring the other fill area to light? Because we'd hate to go through an NOI process only to then have to go through another one for another restoration area. If we're going to do it, should it be holistic and do it across the areas that are identified, or at least get that solved? Or do you keep this separate, which is your prerogative, and then consider issuing a separate one for the other area? And Mr. Gray very clearly outlines that in his report.
You have legal counsel pretty busy
Yeah,
on this
the
one.
commission will
There are a lot
definitely
of
decide
questions
how they
on
want to
this.
proceed.
Right.
That will
I
happen.
completely understand and appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
Step by step, yeah, we'll get the fill removed, and we'll get the line reestablished, and then we'll check with legal counsel. And there are, I mean, the whole big area where the farm, soils were put in there, that wasn't even the current property owners, from what I understand. That was an abutting person that farmed it.
Yeah, it was when it was owned by Baron Joseph.
Yes.
Yeah.
We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming in. We'll keep moving.
You're going to be around, right?
Thank you.
I'll be around for this one, I think, yeah.
Thanks, Frank.
Thanks, Richard.
Moving on.
Now we can. Mr. Kamen.
Mr. Kamen, 31 Candlewood, come on up here. Good evening.
Good evening. Oh, Jerry Kamen.
How are you, Arthur?
Hi, guys.
And you're looking for cause?
It's a show cause hearing for work in the wetlands area. And so the commission received a call from someone that noted that there was work going on at the end of the field, your field. And so we got some pictures, and I actually took a look. I went through the neighbor's property and walked out through the back and around, and it appears that maybe a bobcat or small tractor or something was working there, and it does look like that work goes into the wetlands.
What had happened, I have a large pile, you noted, of the boulders that were assembled. I collected them all along the slope. They were from the Tilden farm when they were farming, and they just rolled them to the edge of the woods and rolled them down into what became my property. So I stockpiled those, and that's a huge pile of rock that you see today. And I discovered that I like rocks, and I use them. I'm in the process, or my goal is to build a 12-foot waterfall over by the house, so I can use as many large ones as I can have. And there was a very nice one that had rolled out from the rock pile down into the off of the rock pile, and it was getting lower. And I tried to retrieve it, and it kept going more and more, as I just gave up and that. The other thing that I would like to do to make it apparent to the commission is that, remember, I had a line of electric fence a little beyond the going around the orchard, because we have a lot of deer, and we've had a lot of destruction if we don't have the fence. We have coyotes. We lost our dog of 14 and a half years about a year ago to a coyote. And so the electric fence works, but then if it's not working, it's like, like a 24-hour monitoring almost. And I came across another nursery that was putting like a deer fence around their entire orchard. And I have started, if that's okay, to put up a polypropylene, about 1.5 inch, 2 inch square mesh PVC. It's supposed to last for 15 years. It's 7.5 feet high. And my goal is to, it's going to take me 2 years or more to put it around the entire orchard, because I work slowly. And that was part of that, in that concept, to run that poly fence around the back on the trees, around the back of the rock pile, so I could access the rock pile when I go back and forth and use it. And that's really why I was back there. I don't have any cause to put anything. I had a tree that was I popped it up and I took it back there. I can take that back easily. And I don't have anything needs back there. I was really going back there primarily for the big rock that I wanted. Didn't get it.
Okay. Well, it appeared to me that by the time you tried to retrieve that, you got into the wetlands or very close to it.
Right.
It's been a wet year, so it's a little hard to determine, and I really didn't have anything to measure off of. I just took a look at the plan that you submitted with the orchard, and sort of tried to do my best guess sort of off of that to determine where the work was. And that's what I saw. So,
well, if I may, I'll give you, to show you these, there are set two, one's large and one's smaller, of 3 shots. It's from the orchard side. And if you remember, I'll give you these smaller ones. If you remember, we had last fall flagged the area along, and that's the flag that we kept from the distance to the wetlands. And so those are simply photographs from my orchard side.
Sure. And then, so what I saw, Jerry, was sort of like going down in here.
It was down on the other side, but I never went this way. I went on the other side into the woodlands. And I've not ever gone over that flag to disturb anything on my side.
All right.
After what we went through, we don't want to go through that again.
Sure. And we have worked a long time to try to get some issues resolved.
I appreciate it. I greatly appreciate it.
So,
I have no reason to be back in there again, ever. Don't intend on being there.
I guess my only question is, we've had enough dealings with you, Mr. Kamen, that why didn't you just call and tell us what you wanted to do, and at least make sure that it was going to be okay? I mean, that's what really drives us nuts, and really, we can't tolerate it.
Yeah, I understand. I apologize for that. I can, if you'd like, I have some wood chips. I could lay wood chips on the disturbed area there, on the back of the floor. There's also been in that area, if you looked, there's been a lot of other fill from adjacent neighbors, not myself, that's been placed in there. Right. Trash.
Yep. Paul?
I didn't ask my question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Penny.
My question is, whose property is that on that side of the town hall?
It's beyond that is, I believe it's no one's property. I believe it's town forest.
It's not your property. You were trespassing, so.
Well, Penny, I think that in order to determine that, you'd have to, I looked at the assessor's map. To just clarify something, I don't believe it's a town forest.
Oh, that's, okay.
Because we would be really interested in that.
What is it?
Well, there's a line there, and I just looked at the assessor's map, and again, and I looked at the plan that you submitted before, and it's difficult to determine just where that property line is. Beyond you, it does say the town of Scituate, so it is the town's property. I'm not sure if it's under our purview. Some pieces are clear that it says conservation.
Right.
Some others, the Bound Brook is out, Scituate Brook is out beyond there, and that meadow is all there. So it is the town of Scituate at some point, but the only way to determine where that would be, when I look at the plans that you have and then try to roughly determine the distance, it's fairly close to that property line, but I can't tell without somebody actually surveying it to say whether you've gone beyond that or not.
Well, those large trees in the backside of the rock pile have always been there. And there's been no trees taken down in that area.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I planted one. I have a cherry, such as, I can't think of the name of it, like the Washington tidal basin, that's off to the side, and you see at the photo of that I planted years ago.
Sure.
And put in there myself.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, and again, I can't penny for certain say that. Someone would have to, I didn't see any boundaries or anything to actually determine that. So it would have to be surveyed, or somebody would have to get a line in there to actually determine. Paul?
I don't have anything.
Lisa?
There's a lot of disruption behind those rocks. There are trees that were uprooted. There's all kinds of brush that was taken out for quite a bit of area.
There wasn't, that brush was all there. I didn't bring the brush in.
No, I'm talking about plowed down and moved.
It wasn't moved. I simply had an access, taking my machine along the backside of the trees to search to get the rock. It kept going down and getting wetter and wetter, and I just couldn't do it and left it.
But
you can see the rock if you were there in the, I don't know how many photos you have.
I've got many photos of all the destruction you created here.
I didn't destroy anything. I didn't take trees down.
When you take trees out and the roots are exposed, you're destroying the tree.
The grape vines that are growing up those trees along the backside of the rock pile were like this size, and they're growing up the trees and strangling the trees.
This isn't abutting your rock pile. This was considerably deep in, far
We
removed
honestly didn't cut any trees
from the
down.
rocks.
We did not cut any trees.
By digging it, you uprooted trees. You cleared out a large area.
I didn't take anything from there as a resource.
But you destroyed things.
No, we did not take that tree.
I don't think that was a form of destruction. The woodlands grow back pretty quickly. And
It doesn't matter whether it grows back. You had no right to go in there and remove this. You had no right to go in there and plow. You had no right, period. You did not have permission. It's not your property.
As I said, I apologize for that.
I think you have to, Lisa, I do think that if we're going to go into that area, there's a couple of things that would have to be determined. There was a pre-existing wetlands line that was drawn back for dealing with the orchard. And I think that wetlands line would have to get remarked to some degree so that we know where this violation took place. And then again, we don't know where that property line is. There's no clear boundary that's there. If this goes on to town property, we've had those hearings before. A few years ago, there was a fellow that cleared some land off of Maple Street, and it was very clear that they went beyond that. A surveyor went out, surveyed the property. We determined how much land was cleared on the town property, and then the person that did that clearing had to repair that, restore that. And we worked with them on that in the type of restoration that the commission wanted to have happen. So if this damage is on town property, then that would be something in addition. To me, there's a couple of issues. There's work within a resource area or work within the wetland. And I think it's fairly clear that some of this that took place is either in the wetland or right adjacent to the wetland.
The rock, I know, is over the line and down, and that's why
Over the line of the wetlands.
the wetlands, because if you remember that that slopes, and the wetland line is on maybe down the slope by 10 feet from the edge of the westerly edge of the rock pile.
I mean, I'm pretty confident in saying that he's into the wetland or very close to it. I would need someone to survey that property to tell me that this went beyond the property line.
Then that needs to be done.
Well, Pat?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Penny and Richard and Lisa. I'm really surprised that the work was done after all the history we've had on this. And we went more than halfway to meet you on restoring this. It could have been much greater fines, much more serious consequences. And now to find a whole new area that you've started disturbing. It's not just a wetland, it's a buffer. We have 100 feet of jurisdiction. So, and 50 feet is even more sacred than, the 100 feet. So there's clearly work that's done in there. And it could be work on someone else's property. So we really need to get property line surveyed, and we have to get a wetland person out there to flag that area of wetlands to show what has been disturbed in the buffering and the wetlands. Then I would recommend an enforcement order and some replantings. I mean, we've been through this. You can't say, gee, I didn't know I couldn't be doing work in this area.
There's nothing that I took out of a plant to knock a plant down.
Running things over with equipment.
Why would I want to replant when I didn't take any plantings out?
You might have felt nobody would notice that you were doing this.
No.
I mean, this is all disturbance, just the
my
equipment.
goal there with the 7.5-foot fabric fence that I want to put around in lieu of an electric fence will permanently close me away from all of that and all of anything in my wetlands from the orchard and within my property.
That may be possible. It's getting off the track. We're talking about disturbance, and we're talking about possible
It's not getting
private
off the
property.
track because I was there in order so I could access the backside of the tree and put this netting at 7.5 feet high. And I was trying to open it up. It was filled with these grapevines that you can see hanging.
I understand. We're not here to promote your pear operation. We're here to protect wetlands.
I'm just asking for a consideration that I can protect my orchard of the expense and the endeavor that I have on it. And that's a permanent way that the fabric I'm putting in is guaranteed for a 15-year period. By that time, I'm going to be gone. And I see it as a nice permanent edge that would never have me going back into any of those areas.
And that's how we feel about the wetlands. That's our role.
Right,
We're
you can't take
protecting
equipment in the
wetlands.
wetlands. It doesn't matter whether you're building a fence or you can't take equipment in the wetlands, in the resource areas.
Well, I honestly didn't feel that was in the wetlands and that was a problem.
After everything that we've gone
We've had a long
through with
track
you.
record of you not feeling things are in the wetlands.
All right, so, I know there's folks in the audience that want to speak to this as well. And I'm not making any, I think we need to determine just what was damaged, is my point, when we go through this. And clearly, somebody's got to take a look at this and say, all right, what areas are disturbed, and then what would be the process to restore or repair that. And then the second piece is, if this is off property, then it's gone on to town property, which is another issue. How does that get repaired? And I think the town is concerned that if damage is done to town property, that needs to be addressed as well. So, to me, this...
How do you deal with, there's a huge pile of excavation that came from an adjacent property, not mine.
So I think that, again, knowing where the property line is, because I saw all that. I mean, there's rock piles from the Tilden fields or your farming or whatever that are placed at the end of the field. And then I did walk in from the neighbors, so I had to walk over piles of yard waste and debris that also come from other properties as well. And so I understand that we have to look at a number of things. So, but we don't even know where I mean, for all we know, that's on their property. I mean, we don't know where exactly that line is.
So that's obviously what we have to start with.
To me, that's the piece that needs to be determined, is where the property line actually is. But we have some folks in the audience that want to speak to this.
Sure. So my name is Robert Comerford, and I live at 147th Building. I want to go on record as an abutting property owner, concerned with damage to the wetland and what appears to me, based on Mass GIS maps, appears to be town-owned land that's directly behind my property. The land behind the house is a valuable asset, and one of the reasons that my wife and I decided to buy the house. It's nice to look at. There's large trees there. It's town-owned land. And I'm concerned that the damage to the land, and more importantly the trees, will ultimately reduce the property value. You can tell by looking back there now that a lot of the trees, or at least some of the trees, have turned brown. I mean, they clearly the bottom of the trees were ringed or hit with a machine, and they're dead. As I'm sure you all know, damage and removal of trees on town land has been a hot item lately, and my fear is that the lack of enforcement in this case sets a bad precedent, and that the work and the damage will increase in scope unless something is done. And so, like I said, I want to go on record as stating that and making sure that hopefully something can be done.
I would, I'm sorry.
Sure.
The dead that is spoken of, if you examine the dead up in the tree, high in the tree, it's coming from the vines that have been, the grapevines that are gone, cut.
If I could?
Sure.
Quickly. So, based on this is not a surveyor's map, nothing official on Mass GIS map. I circled the area where I think the damage is done. Obviously, his orchard goes to the end of that property line. So anything past that orchard crosses that line into what appears to me town-owned land.
Do we have did you bring Mr. Kamen's folder tonight?
I'd love to see it.
I don't have the original one now. This is show cause. So.
Okay. Because Carol pulled out the folder for me, and I looked at the survey plan that was submitted as part of the restoration. And I could see where the pear trees are supposed to end, and then where that is. And the best I could do is pace a few things off, and it's a little hard to determine. These lines that are on the GIS, I mean, you can see that some of them go right through a house, so it's a little hard to tell whether they're exactly on point or...
I assume, based on what I was looking at there, that the end of his orchard, the part that has been cleared, that he cleared up right to the end of his property line.
Right.
And anything past that would be town-owned land.
And it could be, but these just aren't accurate enough to... If we're going to have any...
You got to do it.
Credible either fines or restoration or whatever, we first have to be sure of where these, in my mind, two lines are. A wetlands line, and B, a property line. And we have to know where both of those are.
I get those from the assessor's office.
Yeah, and I've looked at them
Okay.
as well. So I think it's obviously we can't find someone without actually having proof that a piece of that is on there. I hope you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Sean Halligan, 36 Avers Lane.
So we're not abutting the property, we're 2 houses over. We've lived there for 10 years. All hours of the night, the Bobcat runs. 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, on Saturdays, Sundays.
That's not true. That's not true.
You can look at the police reports, because we've called the police many times. There was a big fire years ago, as you know. We've called the State Environmental Protection Agency a number of times as well, because it's clearly in the wetlands area. You can see from our property how the trees begin to just die after Mr. Comerford's lot. You can just see where we have the old growth trees, and then all of a sudden, everything's just kind of dug away. Something needs to be done. This is 10 years of having to deal with this and having to listen to this bobcat, again, at all hours of the night. We just ask that something be done more so than what was done last time, which was kind of the town rolling over.
I thought we stopped the noise at 8 o'clock.
Right, the policeman came when there was a report that day, and I think it was filed as 9:30. 9:30, it's dark. You really need to go back to that because the sun was up and shining. I don't know the date of that, why that was recorded as 9:30, but it certainly, I have never been out there at 9:30 in the dark. The sunlight was bright, I could see him, he could see me. That was it. That's not an accurate statement that the 9:30 thing.
And not to pass the buck, but our jurisdiction doesn't go in, whether you do this at midnight or you do it at noon.
I don't do it at midnight.
Well, but whatever, but that's not, our issue is there a disturbance in the wetland?
Right.
And we also want to know if it's on town property. And I just trying to figure out how do we get a conclusion to those two things. And you've been down this road before where we've hired a consultant.
I thought there was a flag out there.
There's probably a flag.
Yeah.
You mean from last year's?
The pink flag.
There's some wetlands,
that's on the other side.
There's some wetland flags, but they're sort of limited. So, again, we need to know where the wetlands line is and then where the property line is.
Yeah.
So there are large, you mentioned the grapevines and how those might be dead, but there are some large, as I'm sure you saw when you went back there, large old growth trees that are severely damaged, bark ripped around, all severely damaged.
Right.
So in the event that that is discovered to be town land or not his property, what happens?
We didn't go back and.
So that would really be, and again, not to pass the buck, but we'd be talking to town council to see what sort of issues would be the proper way to deal with that, whether it's replacement of some of those, whether it's some plantings. In one case, there was a person that did some clearing. It appeared that they did it unintentionally. They cleared to a stone wall, and it turned out that the stone wall was not the property line, but the land actually was closer to their home, and they went to the stone wall, making an assumption that it was, and so, they admitted that they just didn't know, and they wanted to make it right, and we worked with them in restoring that piece of property. And it was up to the Conservation Commission to work with them. We don't necessarily have jurisdiction over all town property, so depending on who has that, it could be us, it could be the selectmen, it could be the water department. They all have pieces of property in Scituate. A lot of big pieces of property are under the jurisdiction of the water department, not the conservation department.
So I appreciate that. So not knowing is one thing. This document I have is from the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection, Bureau of Resource Protection, Wetlands, WPA form, file number 68, spot 2251. Basically, the last page of this document shows the history of this piece of property going back to 2000. So it's been 17 years, not 10 years that this has been going on. So I struggle with I didn't know piece of this situation. I understand that the one you spoke about, but that's just, so my concern is that I didn't know extends farther into the woods, farther behind my property, more trees down. And so again, I want to go on record.
No, believe me, we've been working, dealing, whatever you want to call it, and you know, we've tried to come to we thought was an amicable solution to the plantings and whatnot, and getting back on track with this property. And we're frustrated as well. I mean, you've heard that from the different members, and
And we'll make it right.
and so I think we just got to figure out the best way to get to that.
Could I make a suggestion? What we did with the Maple Street property was we said to the offender, hire a surveyor, you find the line of your property line, it's on you, and hire a wetland person, and you find the wetland line, and then we go out there and we start from there. Okay, there's this much wetland disturbance, it has to be restored. There's this much town property damage, that has to be taken care of. Legal counsel's been notified about this. There's a police matter, it appeared to be on town property, so he's aware of this. They're waiting to get the line established and take the next step. You're totally correct. There is no excuse for not taking this more serious than it was taken last time. That was the largest destruction of wetland in the town in 20 years.
Yep.
So, I mean, and this is offense number 2.
I hear you, so I'm just, but let's get to the point of what we have to figure out. If it's a survey and a wetlands line, then let's get that information. My question would be, do we ask Mr. Kamen to do it, or does the town do it?
He
Why
does.
should the town do it?
Right. Mr. Kamen do it.
Well, if we want to know that it's done, we want to know.
Licensed surveyor.
Okay.
Or we'll hire him and he pays for it.
With the wetland line that is shown by our original study that extends through that property into the forest, would that be the existing line? Nothing has changed.
The problem is we don't, I mean, so maybe, who did the survey work?
Brad Hewitson, Hewitson and Brad Holmes, and there were 3 different people out there.
These are the wetlands lines. Who did the there must have been a surveyor to pick up that information.
Who did we have last year? Was it last year?
Somebody was out there, yeah.
So
you had an engineer, a surveyor.
I don't know if it was Merrill or not.
Well, I think the thing to do would be to take a look at the file. If the surveyor that surveyed that would have plotted those wetlands lines, so they could replot the wetlands lines, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Confirm the line.
Yeah.
It was
And then they-
recently done within the last 3 years, it shouldn't
Right.
have changed.
So whoever plotted that wetland line should be able to pick that up, and if they're a surveyor, they should be able to get the property line.
Right.
It could have been Pat from Amory.
I think
Pat
it was
Brennan.
Pat.
Brennan, might have been Pat.
We can find it in the file.
I mean, Mr. Kamen had, I think Brad Holmes, there was like you said, there was a couple of people that did the wetlands piece.
Yeah.
But those wetlands lines had to be picked up by a surveyor.
Well,
Yeah,
unless it's, I don't know the
Yeah.
property, but I mean, if it's close enough to a structure, they could just
measure
tape
it
it
off.
off.
I mean, this is a pretty big, this is a
Big
pretty
lot.
big area. It seems to me, I looked at a plan and there was a surveyor's.
Yeah, we were measuring off the fence behind the subdivision.
Yeah,
We
you
were
and I
measuring
were sort
off
of
that.
taking those measurements
Yeah.
to see if it
Which
was.
is a property line, we're measuring off that property
Yeah.
line. It's top of
On
the
the
slope.
top,
Right.
right.
So the next step is to see what we have in the
Yeah.
file.
Well, beyond that, the next step would be to get these lines marked, all right? And
Okay.
I think it would behoove you to go to the person that did that plan, and we'll give you a certain period of time to get that
If you can
done.
give me a name, I can't, maybe it's in the.
We'll go
We'll go to the
we can go
file.
through the file.
We'll find out who the surveyor was,
Right.
and then you're gonna have to contact the surveyor. And I think, I mean, with all these folks in the room, they wanna know that this is gonna happen.
And we need a date
Timeframe.
that it
Yeah, we
has
need
to
a timeframe.
happen
We're
by.
all agreed on that.
So, is a month's 30 days enough time to get?
Well, we can get the information from the file, I mean.
Tomorrow.
within a yeah.
Yeah.
Day or so, yeah.
But in order to get those lines out there,
It'll
so
be
that-
on his schedule.
They have a surveyor get back to us.
Hmm.
Yes, so let's start with 30 days.
That's it.
I think you need to communicate with Pat or Amy and tell them that you've contacted these people and when they're gonna be there.
Once he gives me a name.
Yep.
That, I can do that.
We'll give you a name.
We can do that.
The thing to note from one of the butters that's really not in a butter, because his property is not touching any of my property. And what he's looking at through his backyard, past his pool and the house, is town woods, but he's not looking at this area directly on. He's looking through the neighbors, his abutting neighbor property. So he's not, some of the statements that were made here tonight, he's not looking directly at the erosion.
I got a pretty good sense of where things are.
Yeah.
Mr. Carlson let me walk through his property, so I went through that, and then I
Right.
had to walk
Right.
north to get to
Or-
your
Right.
property,
So
so
you have it, you have it.
I know where it is.
Right, you have it right.
And we'll get the right lines.
And we'll,
Okay, let's go.
Yeah,
Is that, and.
that's what we need to know, but we need
Then
people.
I get something from Pat, I'll get a schedule on this gentleman, I can keep
And we
Pat
wanna know
informed.
when the survey is coming and where the line is.
Right.
And, maybe it's even a member or something can be there at some point to take
Well,
a look.
I can address Pat for that, and he can alert whoever has a schedule
Yep.
available, if that's a
if I can.
requirement.
Okay.
Okay?
And the
All right.
date this has to be completed by, Frank, we need a measurable
within a
point.
month.
Next
Month, 30
Well,
days.
the
August
The
16th.
survey within,
Can I have my photos back?
can we keep,
If you want a set, keep the biggest set, there's 3, and just keep the bigger set.
that'd be great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And we're also gonna keep this plan,
Get those lines.
whoever gave us this GIS, we're gonna,
That's why I was,
That's
what I was noting, if there's any, I know that Andy.
We're gonna be able to put this away in the archives. Would be pulling this file out.
A lot of stuff has been done.
Well,
this,
yeah.
So his.
I walked through here, and
Never know like that.
then I went this way, so I understand the work is somewhere in here.
Right.
And I can't say that
It's on the other side of the rock pile.
It's right here, Frank.
Brand new.
Appreciate it.
Well,
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Richard.
if you can tell me. Yeah. Sure.
Because you entered from here, and
No,
Well, the wetland line
Enter from
also has a
this guy.
buffer that's protected off the wetland line, so the one that runs right along the row of pear trees, that is correct for that part of the property.
Okay.
But anything within 100 feet of that,
I went in
filed.
here.
Yeah.
There's a pool here. I walked in here, and then I went this way,
Right.
right? So
Yeah, we just have paperwork that comes after this.
somewhere
This,
in here, when we're done tonight, we can also take a look at the file. If you look at the file and it shows where the orchard ends and where this other piece, this is not clear.
No, this is not a survey.
No,
This is,
I'm
But
familiar with
but
it.
it is a representation of property lines. This gentleman says he looks at this, it's really over here.
They never was
Right.
And not directly.
But where that is.
Need to get it established.
Exactly. I think that's the first thing we have to do.
There was
Yes,
Okay.
I agree.
everything.
And I can, remove something.
nope, just boating and a beach.
And you're
All
not,
right.
you're not gonna do
Thank
any
you.
more work? Nothing, none.
I'm doing work in my own side.
We did it, yeah.
That, and I'm running the machine. That's my. No, it's not fear, it's just, it's the United States of America where I'm a free enterprise and I'm free to operate my machinery because as early said on this project, the farm and orchard causes a little bit of noise, but I stay in my property.
But again, that's not our purview. I
Right.
want to deal with what our purview is.
They used to be a farm, used to be cows back there.
Yeah, actually, the buildings summered the cows down in the, across through the meadow.
Right, right.
And they occasionally.
Okay.
We're not done yet.
Nice to meet you, Amy.
If you want to email me.
I will email it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Penny?
I'm here.
Not too late, Amy.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
You're done.
Yes, it is.
Sure you
Can I
wanna
do a
stay?
few things, Frank?
Shh, be quiet, we
Order
want her
of
to
con-
stay.
So we
This
need
is a
some
light night, too. We
order of
usually have a lot
conditions.
more than this.
Yeah, I make a motion, we accept the order of conditions for Sharon Lot 190 in Vinyl Road, the ORAD.
Second.
All in favor?
Those were done well.
Aye. I make a motion, we accept the orders for Tom Tondoff. Rivershed, 17 New Driftway, the grease trap is written.
I'll accept
So
that
this
too.
says, my thing says Board of Health and Sewer Department are reviewing.
Which one, Frank?
Rivershed, Tondorf.
Tondorf, Rivershed.
Mine
Grease
doesn't
trap.
say that.
Grease trap. So I'm just wondering if we want to close that.
Well, we did close it.
We've already closed it.
So you got orders. So it's just still under review?
Yeah, so if it's already closed, we can't
closed.
change
All right.
anything, so.
Okay.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Can we keep it on the list?
Yeah.
If they make big changes, we do a revised plan, so they submit it to us and we do a
Yeah.
revised
I
plan.
make a motion, we accept the minutes of April 5th and April 26th, that's written, 2017.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
What about the COC?
I don't know. Pat,
Off the list.
we're not
Oh,
doing
no,
it, good.
okay.
Okay.
Well, we got the information Thursday.
Oh, we can't do it then.
Yeah.
And, well, CSC you could if we had time, you know. That doesn't have to be in too much in advance.
Hey, Frank, I don't know what you want to do up above.
So for, Richard, do you want to, you
Coastal-
already gave us a little bit
Yeah,
on the
and
coastal.
that was really, most of it, we actually did not have a quorum, so we did not have a formal meeting. And Lisa, when's the next meeting? You sent out the notice,
Well,
or
the-
you did,
The
Pat.
next meeting, though, is for the
Yeah, it's
the
next week,
Coastal
right?
Coalition
Oh, Coastal.
at the South Hummerock Civic Association.
Okay.
Okay.
And, but all it was that report from the 8th graders. They really did a neat job.
I'm so bummed I wasn't there.
You would have
That had
you
to
would
be
have thoroughly
so
enjoyed
They were
it.
cute.
They were cute,
Yeah,
and they
they
really
really were.
gave some great ideas. The permeable pavement was really good. They found a wall in Denmark that's a removable wall for the harbor that can go in and out when there's storms predicted. They
Yeah.
found a place in Tokyo that has special ramifications for the coast. They did a neat job. There were a lot of things they wanted to put up walls, and, some things that we know really don't work as well, but they were remarkable in their research.
Yeah.
It was really good to see them doing it. It really was.
Oh, it is.
Eighth grade, yeah, you would have thought they were in high school
Oh,
with
yeah.
Yeah, it
what
was
they did.
really good. It was really good. And I did promise them that we would be mentioning it tonight.
That's great, thanks. Richard.
I'm sure they're watching.
Yeah, right.
They are now.
Not. So Green Connection, any,
Yeah, letters have to go out to Green Connection and 3 other ones.
is there a property owner of that place that we should be notifying as well? Because that's rented, I think.
Yeah, he's in France right now, but there's a second name that I got from the rentee.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a name I didn't
So I
know.
think we want to notify the
The
property owner as
Yeah,
well as the.
right. I went out there, they haven't done anything. It's been a month, still there.
Okay.
Got to do it.
Sunoco Station, any,
He contacted us, so it's, he did what he was supposed to do, but there's an old file that, really old, so it's in archives somewhere, we have to find it.
Okay.
Because it might show what the existing trees were
Right.
before all this, but he's been willing to cooperate, it seems.
okay. And the DPW, that determination for the main, nothing back from.
Yeah, I sent you guys a copy of the thing that went to Jim Mahala. They may not get back to us.
Okay. You blame them?
Yeah. Be nice if someone took a stand, but.
So, so meeting times. So what we're trying to do is resolve an issue. When we have a limited number of people here, there was an application, person to get on, I think there's one more. So hopefully, selectmen are gonna be making a choice fairly soon for for another member, but we still have Bill, who's out
Another month probably.
at least.
Till August.
And we'll have
One
to
more
see how
meeting.
his,
Yeah, one more meeting.
unless he gets
Extended.
Boy,
again. And then Paul's schedule after, at the end of the summer, shifts. And so the discussion was whether we could move to Monday nights as opposed to Wednesdays. I personally don't have an issue with either one. Carol was good enough to put together a schedule. And just, I'm not quite sure. So can we do the Mondays all along, or?
There are a couple that we can't do.
No.
Because
A
of
lot of
holidays or
fall
other
on
meetings.
Monday.
Holidays and Board of Health.
But that second schedule sent, I thought was fine, personally.
There's one Thursday, the planning isn't meeting,
So we'd have to move to a Thursday night,
One night.
one night.
and then September 20th would have to go to a Wednesday?
How, did we think about considering a different location, like the safety center? Could we stay with a Monday on
That's
Saturday?
really hard.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm thinking really of Pat and Amy. They have to bring all the files, and then Carol has to be commuting.
Okay, all right. I didn't think about that, sorry.
TV and,
It's not really
yeah.
set up well for hearing
No.
the audio and the videos.
oh, the audio is terrible.
Yeah, I know,
Your purposes.
Right.
you're right, because
It's
I've
a big
listened to some
deal
of
to
the
set it
meetings,
up.
and they're hard to hear.
Okay. So,
I think the only thing, if we have nights like a Thursday and then a couple of Wednesdays, when most of them will end up being Monday, especially after the first of the year, I think the only thing we have to be careful of is that the notification, the postings, and the publicity about it is very clear, more than anything. I think we can handle it fine.
it is obviously easier when we can just say first and third
Yeah, it
Wednesdays,
is.
and that's
It
it.
is.
We
And
were moving-
Mondays
we were
has
moving all-
holidays.
We used to move all these around for Penny's vacations, but we sort of ended that.
Anything around for Penny.
I always went on vacation on the off weeks, but I'm grounded for a while.
Well, you have a valuable member, you gotta keep them, you know, so.
All right, well, do you want to, we can try it for a bit. If it doesn't work out,
I
then
wanna go
thanks,
on
Paul.
Yeah. Well, I was saying to
Move
Carol
them
too,
off.
maybe we set it up for like a month and then figure
Well, we
out
gotta-
the following
we
month.
gotta continue some meetings out a little bit, but
Yeah.
I thought what Carol did was very appropriate. She did it through the end of the year, and
Right,
Yeah.
and
Why-
it's
why didn't I
one of
get one?
The conflict that,
I
that
didn't.
made this proposed schedule bounce around was the fact that Board of Health has their meetings also on Monday nights at 6. So maybe we can work with them to try to figure out how we can coordinate that better.
But come the
Coming
first
up.
of the year, we can get to the calendar first.
No, we can't take them all.
They're done by 7 too.
How often did the Board of Health meet?
it's almost 9 o'clock now, and we started at 6. I
Every
really
other.
don't want to start our meeting.
Their meetings are shorter, like they only go an hour.
There's only 4
from what I've
people.
heard.
All right.
And, but they think they meet every other week or something like that.
So why don't, we set it up where we meet the every other week, so we
We
don't.
tried to do that, but that's where we ran into the holidays. So it's Labor Day, then it was Columbus Day, you know what I mean? So, but I think as you go into the year, it gets maybe a little better for Monday holidays.
All right. Well, let's try to work with this schedule that Carol put together, and it's only gonna, it's be a few months, and if it
Yeah, the
becomes
first,
too problematic, then we'll do something else.
the first one's gonna be a Brandon Moss question.
No, it isn't. We have the labor.
And he's okay with it?
To go 22 days.
Oh, DEP? They are?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
As long as we waive the RDAs, the time frame, 22 days.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Well, because I mean, think about it, it happens from time to time when, say, you didn't get a quorum, you know what I mean? Sometimes it just happens, so.
we've had it happen, actually, a couple of times, when we've had to have waivers.
Okay.
So, because of storms, we got postponed.
Carol, thanks for putting that together.
Yes, good job. That was like a Rubik's Cube.
Oh, it was
know, they can,
I make a
they
motion
lawyers
to
can
close.
go back.
Please make a motion.
I made a motion to close.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.